Side by side again. Last time it didn't quite work. Can he make it stick this time? He's not fully passed, but he held on as they swing back in. A little bit of car contact between them. That sends him out. Topi's going to pounce on it. He's going to try and take that second place back as it goes through Brooklyn's tires spinning up as Simone is not willing to give way. He's got the inside back and through. More side-to-side contact between he and his rival. Somehow they come out the other side, but it's still not done, DJ. It's down to cops they go.
Oh, it's really close. Here we go. It's Galindo. He tries to make the move on U-Bluth as they send Hideki Koivisto flying.
Koivisto manages not to hit the wall. I think he's going to be okay, but he's not going to be happy about that.
Galindo, he's going for a braking move on Fabian U-Bluth. He's going to send it deep into turn 7. He's going to be on the inside as they head around the corner. He should have the position, but U-Bluth holds out. They're going to go side by side as they go into the S's.
Oh, can he get this done finally? Oh. Chucks it in, but he goes a little too deep. Coming back at him. Here comes U-Bluth trying to take this fourth away. Again, this will tie the points lead. If Aitor can get past him, they're going to run together. Little bit of contact, splitting either side of Marco Lay. Who's going to win the battle down into the braking of the hairpin?
Well, and let's take a look at that. That may have been a mistake there from Jeff Schmeier going for the move. How he kept that out of the side of the number 220 is beyond belief, but amazing car control there from the number 30.
Not close enough to Timo for this lap by. Oh, but look into the first corner. That's for the lead. Kortaniemi on the attack on Partanen, but he's going to be vulnerable as Simone sees the chance. Now that he's slow off the corner, swings around him, and he is through down into Maggots and Beckett's.
And this is where things get extremely complicated. He's going to try and go on the outside, gets pushed out wide into the grass, loses it, and now we're all along for the ride.
Whoa! I know there's a rallycross course here, but this car's not made for that. And he got air, all four wheels off the ground, still kept it out of the barrier and brought it back. That's going to likely cause a little damage to the car regardless, but great heads up by the 16.
He's going to have to go the long way around the left-handed sweeper here. Is he going to be ahead by the time they get into the braking zone? Are we going to see side-by-side for two successive laps going through Moss? Little bit of maybe contact there for Ozowski, bumping and banging and bumping as they exit the corner.
Luis Nunez tries to cover it off then. It's going to try and pinch as they go towards turn one, but he'll get just about what he needs. Oh, he has a big moment in the middle, and up and under, Jukka Tolonen, experience prevailing.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
All roads lead to here, Homestead Miami Speedway, for the finale of the Majors Americas region. The championship may all be set and decided, but today's championship finale will be anything but easy. 267 laps around this bruising speedway in the NASCAR Next Gen Cup car is sure to test both drivers and equipment alike. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Majors Championship finale live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. My name is DJ Clark, and joining me here in the commentary booth is Joey Atterbury and Ian Fisher. Behind the scenes is our director Adam Lindgren, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, before we dive into any championship talk and what to expect for these drivers, let's take a quick tour of this South Florida Speedway.
The track boom of the 1990s and recovery after the devastating Hurricane Andrew brought this gem of a southern Florida track. It started out a bit rough. In 1995, the initial layout was like a smaller Indianapolis. It really didn't work. Slow, narrow, passing was near impossible, so they widened the track. That brought out a larger problem of crashing. They tore up the corners and made it into a traditional oval. Racing improved greatly, and in 2002, NASCAR moved all of their top-tier series finales to South Florida, and they would stay there for 17 years. Each end of the racetrack produces multi-groove racing and passing opportunities. The approach to turns 1 and 2 has produced numerous race-changing moments over the years, as it just invites you to make a move. You hit that 18 to 20 degree progressively banked corner, and it becomes a matter of who can get it back on the gas faster as you hit the backstretch and the row of palm trees that awaits you. Turns 3 and 4 are just as multi-grooved, although a few small bumps in the low lane make the high line just a little more appealing. Even then, guys will use that low lane for a challenge that could last all the way to the checkered flag. Nowadays, Homestead's biggest customers on the oval are NASCAR vehicles. The trucks, B-Class, and Cup cars all make trips here and put on fantastic shows. USAC Silver Crowns raced here as well, and that often shows up on iRacing's official calendar for that car. Welcome to Homestead Miami Speedway, where the racing action is just as hot as those South Miami beaches.
Well, that was an overview there of exactly what this speedway can be. But Joey, I've got to ask you, these NASCAR Next Gen Cup cars, how are they going to handle around this Southern Florida Speedway?
Yeah, this is no stranger to racing here, as we're a mile and a half racetrack in length. And yeah, the beautiful Miami Homestead, Florida here, it's variable banking between 18 degrees and 20 degrees. And what that provides is a lot of different lanes of racing that we're going to see here. We're going to kind of have a high groove that carries a lot of momentum. And then we're also going to have cars that are going to try to paint that white line and maybe do a couple slide jobs that carry them all the way up through the banking here. But I think primarily the big thing here tonight is the multiple grooves of racing and kind of using the draft to your effect and kind of getting side by side and seeing what you can do by poking the nose down in there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing to watch out for as we get ourselves ready to go racing here, qualifying already in the books. But before we get to the actual racing action, we'd like to thank our sponsor for tonight, the Majors Garage. Make sure to check out the Majors Garage, home of full Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking our link in the description below. Also, if you use the discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get a 10% off discount. As always, here for the Major Series, we do also have a charity here tonight, and that is going to be the Whatcom Humane Society. The Whatcom Humane Society has been caring for animals throughout the Whatcom County area since 1902. It's the oldest non-profit animal welfare organization in the county. WHS is committed to caring for any animal in need. As an open admission shelter, WHS turns no animal away regardless of the animal's age, breed, temperament, physical, or mental condition. Their dedicated staff and volunteers care for approximately 4,500 domestic, wild, and farm animals annually. They currently open and operate 3 shelter facilities, a domestic animal shelter, a wildlife rehabilitation center, and a farm facility. In addition, WHS provides 24-hour-a-day animal control and rescue services to the majority of Whatcom County, including the cities of Bellingham, Ferndale, Blaine, Sumas, Everson, and unincorporated Whatcom County, and has relationships with both Lee and Noosuc Indian reservations. But that is their charity here for today, and we are very, very happy that they are on board. But as we said, let's go ahead and bring you into some of the championship combinations and permutations out there. First and foremost, it is the pro driver standings, and leading the way up at the top of the charts is Christian Challoner by a hefty margin. Tom Abramitis pretty much locked in there in P2, but the battle is certainly on for P3 between Nathan Dowd, Brenton Foster, and Justin Morton. That could all erupt here today, and we will have to see how that plays out. Ozzie Milwain holds on to 6th place there with Andrew Waring, Travis Warling close behind him. We'll have to keep an eye on that battle, as well as Kevin Hill being involved in that as well, the battle for 7th, and then Jeff Schmeier there in P10. We also have the Sportsman's standings here, and Ian, I think you're going to run us through those.
Well, the Sportsman Series isn't quite like our pro standings there, DJ. A little bit closer of a margin we have here in the lead. You have David Jagaro Jr. here of Vengeance Motorsports. You see he has just a 24-point lead over his teammate Nathan Medea. Going back from there, we have Andrew Costa, part of the Mad Sim Racing outfit, 232 points back. So really just a battle between your first and second finishers, but the rest of these positions, look as you go 3rd on through 4th and 5th. Maurice Golemon there, Cody Richardson. That's still a battle there inside of your top 3 positions there. So Chris Yeto there in Forge PC Sport number 1, Northern Nichols in 7th. Robert Deloach in 8th, Doug Buchanan in 9th, and Jason Lottridge in 10th. You can see that there's still some battles to be had out there on the racetrack this evening from Homestead, DJ.
Yeah, there certainly are. And Joey, I think you're going to go ahead and walk us through our Legends standings as well.
Yeah, I got the Legends guys over here, and really it's a battle between 2 guys for that top spot. Kevin Hill currently up top with 1,830 points total, followed closely by Brian Barnes right there, just shy of 100 points down. And then we really have another battle there for that 3rd place between Wayne Hutchinson and Brian McGreevy. From there, 5th place, Ray Partridge is down there, and then things kind of fall off pretty sharply with William Fletcher 6th, Jimbo Pfeiffer, Brian Bennett, David Henger, and then Adam Plunkett there, rounding out the top 10 in points.
And we also have the Legend Sports standings here, and Mauricio Millon leading the way by 243 points. That position all but assured over Robert DeLoach. Brian Scrivener there in P3, followed by Robert Schrank. Could be a little bit of a battle there between himself and Steve Paulison there. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. Ernie Ludwig back down with 506 points back, followed by Mark Redeker, Don Dolson, Richard McClure, and Gerard Gilbert rounding out your top 10. And Ian, we do also have the team's championship here for the pro category, all but decided up at the top, but still some definite room to play for farther down in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. All but locked up for about first, second, maybe even third place there. But you look down towards the battle for 7th and 8th place there between Dog Bear Blue Racing and Black Magic Motorsports. There's still something to be had there. And then Forge PC Racer Pro 2 and Sector 5 PT are going to be battling for that 9th and 10th spot, DJ.
Yeah, they'll keep up that battle. And Joey, looks like you're going to be able to run us through the sport teams as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's still a battle up top between the top three there. Mad Sim Racing, Vengeance Motorsports, and Forge PC Racer for the championship. Then it falls off, but it's a good battle once again for that 4th place between Udox Frank, Howler Racing, and Dog Bear White. Really, it stays tight throughout the top 10 past that. In 7th place, High Class Racing, Sector 5 in 8th place, Forge PC Sport Team number 2 there in 9th, and Evolve Sim Sports Academy rounding out the top 10 with 3149 currently.
Well, that's going to run us through all of our championship standings there, but let's go ahead and bring you to today for today's race details. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, it is the 14th out of 14 rounds, the finale here today. It's going to be a full race distance, 267 laps around this 1.5 mile speedway using the NASCAR Next Gen Cup cars. It is open setup, so that's certainly where your teammates are going to come into play, as you're going to want to be leaning on them to be able to get the best setup as possible. There is a 30x incident limit out on the track right now. That probably won't be taken into consideration, as I've got to imagine that if you get into the side there, you're going to find yourself in a little bit of a world of trouble here and some pretty hefty damage on the car. But if they do pick up damage, there is one spare car available here today that they will be able to use. So that will be some good news for drivers if they find themselves in trouble. But, Joey, I go to you. You talked about the multi-groove racing around here. Obviously, the side force not as big of an effect as it was in years past, but certainly the drafting in a straight line going to be just as powerful as it always was.
Yeah, the drafting will come into effect here. And yeah, the side force will also come into effect. If we see some of these cars start to run that top groove up along the wall, they'll kind of ride the cushion of air, if you will, and just keep the momentum built up all the way around the wall, which is pretty fascinating to see out there. And then we're also going to see cars go all the way down and really paint the white line down here, as we see right now on screen. These cars are kind of running down below the lower end of the racetrack, and that's the shorter way around, but there's also less banking down there, and that means you're going to wear out your tires faster. The car might not turn as well, and you might see drivers start to scoot up the racetrack where there's more banking.
And that's one of the storylines that we were really considering coming into this race was going to be that tire wear issue around here. Now, it's not particularly massively toasty. It's only about 82 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, but it is 103 on the track. So that tire temperature and tire wear is something drivers are going to have to keep their eye on through the entirety of these 267 laps.
Absolutely, DJ. And you kind of hit on it a little bit. Not too hot out there, but this is a slick, humid Florida race surface we have out here right now. And Homestead's just a track known for burning up those tires. And so you got to manage it. The tire wear, from what I've heard from these next-gen drivers, isn't as bad as it used to be maybe in the previous gen car, DJ. But still something you're going to look forward to all night long to see how these drivers manage these tires. I'm also curious to see which driver will commit to that top line and really stick to it for a majority of the race, because that really seems to be the best strategy. If you want to rip the wall like that, DJ, you have to go there early, and you have to commit to it for the rest of the race. You can't be going back and forth between the lines. You really have to pick one and make your car run that line as best as you can.
Yeah, and, you talked a little bit about the grooving on this track and how that tire wear is going to affect, but, Joey, it's really kind of a unique situation that allows for the tire wear to be such a problem, really, frankly, because of the proximity of this racetrack to the beach.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of sand in the air in South Florida and a lot of salt in the air as well. And just through the wind and everything, there's a lot of stuff that gets blown onto the racetrack. And that's traditionally why we see this as such a low grip racetrack. And not only that, but once the sand gets blown in and driven into the concrete, that actually provides a very abrasive surface out there, which leads into what Ian was saying, that it's a very high tire degradation racetrack. And I think that's why we see so many different grooves of racing, because the race car really handles differently lap 1 compared to lap 5, and you got to search around for that right groove at the time.
Yeah, you've really got to constantly be keeping your eyes open for it as you work your way around here, and it's really one of the testaments of the iRacing simulator that they are able to copy that low grip surface out there and really keep things together in such a way. As right now we do ride on board with Nick Ottinger, one of the mega team racing drivers, and they've really been the story over the course of this entire season. They are just absolutely dominant at the front of the field. And Nick Ottinger, certainly one to look out for, Ian. He is a black stripe. He was competed this past year in the iRacing eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series, so this is his bread and butter around a track like Homestead.
Oh, and you're talking about the lead that Mega Racing had, and I was kind of thinking to myself, DJ, before you said, well, yeah, it's kind of easy when you have a driver like Nick Ottinger in your stable there, and you saw how he was so close to the wall and running that top line, and that's how close you have to be if you really want to make that line work. It's not like you're a lane off or 2 lanes off, a lane and a half. You have to be right up against that wall. You look like it's someone like Nick Ottinger, excuse me. He's going to be somebody who could do that all night long.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see, especially as this race begins to play itself out, who is going to decide to stay up on the high side, who's going to decide to go low. I think one driver in particular that I'm going to be watching to probably work the high side is JMO right here. Justin Morton in that number 9 Forge racing machine. JMO certainly known as a driver, especially on the dirt side, that likes to be able to ride the lip. He's one of the fastest drivers I have ever seen up on the high side on dirt, and I've got to think here that that's going to translate a little bit here when you are running in this next-gen Cup car. But only about 35 seconds left to go here in practice. The grid has already been set for the field. We will bring you that here in just a few moments' time when the checkered flag clicks over. But Joey, in these last couple of seconds, these drivers just need to calm themselves down here at this point and get themselves into a relaxed and smooth situation.
Absolutely. The warm-up is exactly that. You know, go out there and get your rhythm. Don't let the butterflies get to you. You know, just go out there, wiggle your toes, squeeze the steering wheel a little bit, and breathe nice and deep. You know, the warm-up is going to end. We're about to go racing, and get in your groove out there. As we actually see a couple cars practice pit in, a great way to end the session.
Yeah, and that's going to be a storyline that we're going to have to follow, because pit stop's going to be absolutely crucial here today as the checkered flag flies and practice has officially come to an end, and we grid up here for the Majors season finale, bringing everyone through to the finish. Nick Ottinger, to the surprise of no one, will start off in pole position with his teammate Christian Challoner flanking him. And then in row 2, it'll be Brian Halleck and Ozzie Milwane. Wayne Hutchinson will roll off P5, followed by Andrew Waring, with Kevin Hill and Brenton Foster in row 4. Rob Powers will start off in 9th, and then Nathan Dowd will round out your top 10, Joey.
Yeah, then we got Joey Haynes there in 11th place, followed up by Nick Kuhn there in 12th, and the number 19 machine, Eric Smith there in 13th, Jeff Schmieder and Justin Kirby round out the top 15. Daniel Johnson there, 16th place, Brent Kirby, Travis Warling, Brian McGreevy, and then Ray Partridge is in the top 20.
And rounding out the rest of our 29-car field, we have Justin Morton in the 9-car, Lynn Kinchlow to the outside in row number 11, Ryan Steele and Jason Waller will make up row number 12, Tom Ambramitis and Jonathan Medeiros will make up row number 13, and rounding out the field, we have Brian Barnes and Carl Burke. DJ.
All right, there you have it. 29 cars, 267 laps to decide who is going to be a victor here in these NASCAR Next Gen Cup cars. As rolling their way out of pit lane right now comes the field. A great shot there by our director, Adam Lindgren, to see this full field coming to green here right now. They bring their way out along, trying to see what they are able to do. Looking all the way up and down through the field, Lynn Kinchlow, obviously one of those drivers to maybe keep an eye on as they try to work their way up through the field. I think Tom Abramitis, another one that is certainly going to be trying to be able to get his way up forward. but that starting front row here, Ian, Nick Ottinger, Christian Challoner, that's going to be something very difficult to try to get on past.
Oh, absolutely. And a couple of these first opening laps here, when they get going, you're going to be side by side, really battling for position. It's going to be really a time to test those cold tires down in the turn 1 when you're fighting for position off of turn 2. So easy to get loose over driving these next-gen cars. So it's definitely going to be a battle, DJ.
It's going to be a battle indeed as the full field forming up there behind the iRacing pace car, waiting for it to scamper off down pit lane. Control of the field goes over to Nick Ottinger, and we get ready to go racing as there goes the green, and we are racing here in Miami. Looks like a pretty decent getaway there from Ottinger. A lot of side-by-side action all the way back through the rest of the field as they dive their way into turn 1 for the first time. Ottinger and that is going to be Challoner leading themselves out, leading 1-2 here. They've gotten into single file order. Meanwhile, Ozzie Milwain and Brian Halleck starting to get a little bit too wide farther back in the pack. I saw a little bit of a move there from the number 23 of Brenton Foster. That's another one of the Team Mega Racing drivers trying to be able to push his way up ahead as the number 3, Andrew Warren, trying to push a little bit on that high side here early on. Oh, big bobble there in the back. I believe that was Daniel Johnson, or excuse me, it was Rob Powers who had a little bit of an off. That car getting loose off of turn 4, Joey.
Yeah, I had a big moment off of turn 4 as these tires are just starting to get up to temperature, and this is a different session than the warm-up, so you got to get everything back going again and get familiar with all the cars around you as we do have a side-by-side battle for the 4th place currently. I believe that is Ozzie Milwain and Wayne Hutchinson currently battling out, coming out of turn 4 right here. It's pretty calm in the top 3, but I tell you what, from 4th place on back, we start to see some double file racing, and then it just gets even busier once you get back into the midfield.
Yeah, and you really see there the number 3 of Andrew Waring just experimenting with that higher lane, maybe trying to get the air on the front at grill, maybe just trying to see if he can roll a little bit more speed. Looking down to the inside, there goes the number 23 of Brenton Foster as he continues to try to work his way around. We've got a little bit of 3 wide there farther back in the pack, though, as they continue to go. This is definitely looking a little bit electric here. My goodness gracious, that's been sorted out, but I did not expect 3 wide this early, Ian.
Oh, absolutely. You got 267 laps in this race, and we're only 4 laps in, DJ. You don't want to be aggressive that early. Yes, track position is absolutely vital at a place like this, but really you don't want to take yourself out of the race this early. As you see there, 3 to 4 wide sometimes at times here at this Homestead Miami Speedway. It is the luxury that these drivers have. You do have those different grooves to race in, but yeah, you got to question being that aggressive this early.
Yeah, and that is Travis Warland working that number 90 machine up on the high side, trying to be able to make a pass right now on Jeff Schmeier. Great camera angle there. You can see just how close that number 90 is running with the rest of the machines. As now we take a look out the back of Schmeier's machine, you can see that little bit of side-by-side between Eric Smith and Kevin Hill as they exit out of turn 2. Schmeier currently running in 11th, as it does look like Travis Warling is certainly making that high side roll here. He's carrying a lot of good speed. He's already passed a couple of cars, and he is on a move here, very determined to try to get his way up forward. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Nick Ottinger continues to lead over Challoner. Ozzie Milwain able to gain a position off of Brian Halleck. That'll put him in 3rd. And there you see it, Joey. That is Travis Warling rolling that high side, setting the fastest lap of the race.
You see it, purple, fastest lap there with a 33.33. That's a whole lot of 3s in a lap time, and that might be a tribute to Dale, and that means it's going forward. I'll tell you that much is, looks like we're going to have a 3-wide battle here. This is for 5th place here. That is the number 90 of Travis Warling, still working that top side, and you see how much momentum that it really carries down the straightaway. He can just kind of cruise on by everybody as he charges it really deep into turn 1. He's got a lot of trust for that car up along the top. You know, we mentioned it does have a little bit more banking up there, but my goodness, this 90 car is just cruising through the field right now, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly is. It is very, very impressive. Warling already up 13 positions and make that 14 there, as he's going to probably be able to get this move done right now on Andrew Waring as they come off the corner. He had to check himself up coming off of turn 2 because Waring was right in front of him, but now Warling is going to be in prime position, riding in 4th place. Going to continue to roll that high side here, trying to see if he's able to gain time on Ozzie Milwain. And if you're a driver in this position, Ian, and you see somebody doing this, just making speed like that, there's not really a whole lot you can do.
Oh, absolutely not. Another thing that these drivers can do, especially if you have the run like you see that Whirling has right now, running the high side and maintaining all that momentum, is you have to kind of dare that driver on the inside line to hold that line. It's really easy as a driver to get loose there, especially when you're trying to put that much into the wheel to stay on the bottom side. That's another advantage that you have by running the top line like Whirling is right now here.
Yeah, and he just continues to run the top line here, continues to work it around. Indeed, he may even get a little bit of a run here on the number 1 of Christian Challoner. You are reigning and to be crowned champion here for the 2022 season. As there goes Whirling, bringing himself around. He is now firmly up into second place. We can see here as we look out the front of Christian Challoner's machine, he's going to have to tuck back into line. And I think it's only a matter of time until we see Nick Ottinger get past for the lead, as indeed there goes Whirling to the outside. And this is going to be making it up 17 positions on the day. I'm frankly a little bit surprised we're not seeing more drivers try this line out here, Joey. If I'm seeing the success that Whirling has, as he is now up into the lead of the race, if I was driving in this car, I'd be everybody moving up to the high side.
DJ, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. You know, I'm thinking the exact same thing. Here's this number 90 car. He just drove by the entire field on the top side, and I'm looking, and not one car is going out there and trying this line. Everybody is painting the white line at the bottom. We see a couple cars battle it side by side here for 7th place, but you know, if I saw that car drive up around the top side, I would jump up there, and maybe we're seeing a setup difference that he set it up for the top, and man, these other guys are in trouble if that's the case.
Yeah, if he set it up to run topside and he's got that much speed and, crucially, is able to carry that speed over the course of the run, I think we are going to see a very, very rough race for the rest of this Majors Americas region field, as we do have a little bit of a battle farther back in the pack right now. This is Brenton Foster in the number 23, Brian Halleck for Forge Racing, up to his outside now. Halleck is trying to regain a little bit from a bit of a scruffy start. Remember, he started all the way up on that second row of the grid, and he has been passed here 3 times. He's lost 3 positions at this point. A handful of cars, Milwain, Mooring, and Halleck here at this point, Mooring and Milwain. So trying to play a little bit of recovery here. We see him working on the higher side, trying to be able to get his way around, but it's not working necessarily, as Brenton Foster certainly looks like he's closing down.
He is closing down a little bit, but I've been watching that battle for a few laps here, and that was going on with Halleck on the outside. And Foster was really struggling getting pinned down to the bottom. And you got to keep in mind there that if you're running a less than optimal line, you're usually working the car a little bit harder than you want to be doing at the earliest in this run. So he might be using up the tires a little bit earlier too. That almost goes to say for our leader a little bit too. That might be one thing to consider, DJ. He might be driving as hard as he possibly can right now, while the rest of our field is possibly sensing a long green flag run developing here.
Yeah, they could be doing a little bit of that, and that fuel game is going to be taken into effect here for these drivers. It's something they're going to have to be watching out for, and it's certainly going to be a statistic that we are going to be keeping an eye on as well for the rest of these drivers, is that fuel game is going to be very, very difficult to manage around here. A lot of lifting and coasting could be played out. We focus here a little bit farther back into the pack right now. Joey Haynes in 15th position, working their way ahead. It looks like we've got a little bit of a battle for the lead, though. Let's go ahead and jump you up there, as Nick Ottinger not taking that pass, sitting down, Joey, and he looks like he is muscling his way back on by.
I think Ian was right on top of it. We're seeing a little bit of tire wear come into play, and maybe the 90 is set up to run the top side, but is it taking more out of the tires running that higher groove? And you got to think maybe it's a little bit of a longer distance. Maybe that's coming into effect, and you're just having a little bit more tire wear coming out of it. But it certainly looks like he can't get the launch off of the corner, which is so crucial if you're trying to carry that top speed down the straightaway.
Yeah, very much so. And the big thing here for Ottinger is if he is able to roll that car up, as you said, and really blunt off that momentum, there you see the check up there. Christian Challoner along to his outside, not playing dirty here at this point in the race. Now, I think when we get into the later stages, we are certainly going to see a little bit of side-by-side running and a little bit of a bit more of aggressive defense, as he may try to chop ahead. There he is able to get that move blocked off, and that is going to halt the momentum here for the moment of Travis Whirling. But Whirling going to continue to run on that high side, and now it looks like it is all going away for that number 90, as this is going to be Ozzy Milwayne now trying to take a look down to the inside here.
Yeah, and right now it's just the battle of two lines, DJ, and you're going to see that all night long, and you might see some driver seesaw back and forth. You see the bottom lane here, and that run that you're able to get to the 90 car, but once the 90 gets back to the gas a little bit sooner here, Warren in there on the outside, you can see that run. He gets down the straightaway. Really managing that all night long is going to be the difference between first, second. They're in all these positions all through the night.
Yeah, it's all going to be about that management, about just trying to keep yourself in good position. By the way, we have had two drivers here that are a couple of laps down here at this point. Aaron Roos and Ryan Steele, both of those drivers looked like they had a little bit of connection issues before we got the race started. So Roos is counted here as 5 laps down. Steele is 10 laps down, but both drivers out on the circuit here at this point. Starting to get a little bit spread out here up front. Ottinger and Challoner rolling away here a little bit over Warling and Milwayne. The gap about 0.5 of a second. Let's call it about just that many car lengths or so. Let's call it about 5-6 car lengths as they continue to work, and it does look like Warling going to lose another position. We jump you a little bit farther back in the field, though, right now. This is the battle for 14th. Tom Abramitis leading the way right now. Abramitis, one of those drivers that we said to keep your eye out on. He is going to be moving his way up through the field, but he is closing in on quite a few drivers up ahead of him. The one we've got our eye on right now is Jeff Schmeier, who is currently finding himself under a little bit of pressure here from Joey Haynes. But now it's going to be Abramitis taking a little bit of a look down to the inside of Kevin Hill going into turn 1. Abramitis already up 12 positions on the day. He'd like to make that a few more, Joey.
Yes, he's definitely got his head focused forward, out the windshield, as we call it, but this is a pretty aggressive pack right here, and I think it starts right about maybe the 12th place, and as you see, we've got about 15 cars in one screen here, riding on board with the number 20 of Tom Abramitis. He's been really painting the white line, but we're seeing the multiple grooves of the racetrack start to come into play here as got a nice run. He's going to take a look down the inside of the number 44 car and actually probably pull this pass off with pretty easy going here as he's got the inside line.
Yeah, and look there, the 44 of Lynn Kinchlow, who he was passing, got a little bit squiggly there coming off of turn 4, and that may have attributed to it a little bit. And now looks like the number 52 there of Kevin Hill is going to be the latest to try to dive down to the inside of Kinch. He's going to try to pull Nick Kuhn along with him as well. But Kinch rolling that middle lane here at this point. It looks like the groove's starting to maybe work its way up the track a little bit, trying to see what it's able to play out. Tom Abramitis now sending a move down to the inside of Eric Smith. That is going to be down into turn 1. Smith trying to fight back there along the high side, Ian.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Kinchlow getting loose there in the middle of 3 and 4 as well, and we're 22 laps into the stint on these tires there. Oh, a little bit of trouble in the background. We have one car around into the 19. I'm not entirely sure what started all of that there, but it looks like Waring was involved as well there, DJ.
Yeah, I think he was. That is the number 19 there of Nick Kuhn spun around, and it looks like he is going to pop back onto the track just barely enough to trigger the incident and trigger that yellow flag. Brian Barnes, I think, also involved in that incident as well. We're going to go back and check out the GSRC replay. Joey, I think you saw this happen live.
Yeah, you know, this is just a little bit of a stack up here as everybody is searching for the clean air on the nose, and we're going to see a little bit of a funnel come into effect off of turn 2. A little bit of a wiggle up there, actually, from the 44. And, you know, Ian, you mentioned it earlier. There was a wiggle coming out of maybe turn 2, and I think that this 19 car got caught up when the 44 just got loose and got into the wall in front of him.
Not only that, though, and when you start to check up here, even the slightest tap on the brakes, these tires are warmed up here. You can see more drivers get into it, but you see there, really, I'm not entirely sure what started all of that. It doesn't look like Waring had too much help there, maybe just a little bit loose off the wall or something like that, but you see that one driver there, I believe that was the 19 of Nick Kuhn. He got the worst of it for sure, DJ.
Yeah, just caught in an unattainable position there in the 44, certainly being back down to the field. But we have got yellow flag pit stops here as everyone pulls into their respective boxes. And it looks like this is going to be the opportunity to take tires here for these drivers, at least right sides. Let's see if the left sides pop up here onto these NASCAR Next Gen Cup cars. It looks like indeed they will be, and that's going to be the scramble off of pit lane here. Eric Smith, one of your big movers, he is up, it looks like 10 positions with that that move. That is very, very impressive stuff. I didn't necessarily think he was going to be able to do that, and we were going to see ourselves sorted back around in that formation necessarily, but it certainly looks like Eric Smith in good position here at this point.
You know, the easiest passes to do are the ones on pit road where you don't actually have to pass anybody. You know, I'll take those any day of the week out there, and go ahead, get on the radio and thank your pit crew after that one too.
Yeah, very much so. That is where the battles are won and lost, is we are now 24 laps in the book of 267 laps here from Homestead Miami Speedway. Drivers continue to circulate around behind the iRacing safety car. I can tell you Nick Kuhn is remaining in pit lane, the number 19. Remember, he took a big lick there as they come around again. And Joey, I've got to think here that Warling could be thanking his lucky stars. He's probably going to look pretty quick off of this restart.
I think you're right, and we see a lot of short run speed versus long run speed as we see, that number 19 car of Nick Kuhn still down there in the pits, but right now that number 90 of Travis Warling proved to us that he has incredible short run speed for about 15 laps. It only took him about 10 laps to go all the way up through the field, and I think he started something back there in 18th place. Now he's going to be 5th on this restart, and we'll see if he can gap the field maybe, because his long run pace definitely fell off after a little bit.
Yeah, it most definitely did. And I've got to wonder here a little bit, if you are one of those drivers that has that short run pacing, and what do you do if it starts to go a little bit long? Do you try to absolutely drive the wheels off the car in the first stint to try to build up the gap, or do you maybe try to hold the car back a little bit to try to extend that pace as long as possible?
Well, I think if you know for sure that your car is set up for the short run, I think you have a plan going into the race where, you want to try to get all the track position maybe off the initial restart or in those first 5 laps that you can, and then kind of see where it shakes out from there. You're hoping for a lot of short cautions and things like that. But if you get in a long run, that's just what you have to do. You have to manage, and racing's all about gambling. Do you set your car up for a long run, a short run? That's all these decisions that they have to make, and you kind of have to live with your decision one way or the other and just manage it the best you possibly can.
Yeah, and managing that is exactly what you're going to have to do, as it does look like we've got an official wave round here for the Dog Bear machine. That's going to bring his way back around right now, and it's Ryan Steele there that is officially going to get that wave round. He will still be listed as 9 laps down, unfortunately, but he will be able to get a lap back here. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, we are 2x2. That's right, we are restacked, re-racked, and ready to go here at Homestead Miami, as Ottinger will lead the field around to green this time, as he led from very early on from his teammate Christian Challoner. All eyes, though, are going to be on the number 90 of Travis Warling to see what that car is able to do. He'll be starting on the low groove here, so maybe not exactly optimal for his setup and what he wants to run, but we'll see how quickly he can make it up back to that high side. Here is the view on board Christian Challoner for the Mega Racing team. His teammate down to the inside there, Nick Ottinger, as the iRacing pace car scampers off down into pit lane, and we enter into the restart zone here, and the green flag flies. Ottinger's going to get a good breakaway there, and he's going to be able to lead by about a half a car length as they dive down into turn 1. Challoner's going to have the road clear to himself there. It looks like a little bit of side-by-side battle in the pack between Waring and Smith. It does look like the number 90 is going to start there down on the low side there for Travis Warling. He's going to try to pick up a little bit more speed, though, as they run in.
Looks like the 90 car is going to jump to the top side there, as he kind of overcharges into 3, maybe doesn't get the run out of it that he wants to there, but I think now that the 90 is officially up on the top side, we're going to start to see him make up a lot of ground now that the tires are starting to warm up. And yes, as we see, it gets a nice entry there into 1. He's going to come out of 2 here with a head of steam and probably just kind of be patient here going into 3. We've seen him just run the top line, and I think we're going to see the same.
Yeah, it's exactly what he's doing here as he works his way to the outside of the number 3 there of Andrew Waring. Going to try to throw that car down into the corner here and continue to let it play itself out, coming very, very close to the wall. He's going to be able to pull alongside of Andrew Waring, and they still have about a car length and a half as they go. Absolutely wall riding it there, Ian. He is chucking that car into the corners.
Yeah, Warling's the faster car right now, especially on that high line, but he keeps finding himself pitched in here behind Ottinger. And Sometimes Chandler's there on the outside. Sometimes it's Halleck. He just can't seem to get that run right now. He's going to get it this time, and just look how much speed he's able to carry into 3 and 4 here. He's looking for the spot for Ottinger as he comes back to the stripe.
And he's definitely going to be able to roll a little bit more momentum there. And look at that run. 3 positions in the space of about a lap and a half. Looking very, very good is Travis Warling. Now, the question's going to be, remember, we anticipated about 15 laps or so is when that car started to fall off last time around. I've got to think that he is going to try to push like he can absolutely everything to see if he is able to push his way up forward a little bit and get a little bit of a gap before that all goes to naught for him. He's going to have to be very, very careful about that. Farther back in the pack, we run a little bit closer together here, it looks like, as that is going to be running a little bit side by side. Justin Kirby and Brian McGreevy here, Joey.
Yeah, Justin Kirby trying to make his way up through the field. Started a little bit further back there, and I think he's up to 15th right now as they're battling side by side through turns 2. And let me tell you, DJ, it's getting pretty busy back here in the midfield as we got kind of 2 by 2 by 2 for about 4 or 5 rows back here, and it's fighting tooth and nail, and the dirty air is definitely coming into effect. And one other thing that I'm starting to see is some of the other competitors might have been taking notes from that number 90 car out front, because I'm seeing more of the middle of the racetrack start to get used.
Yeah, it certainly is starting to get used a little bit more, and I do wonder that could be about one of, well, maybe 8 different things here at this point. We could be seeing them try to get a little bit of clean air into the front of the car there to cool down the engines a little bit. That's not unheard of. It could also be that there's just more speed up there. It could also be just trying to get out of the way when they're in those big packs in front of you. Right on board right now with the number 32 of Eric Smith as he tries to be able to get a move here on the number 44 of Lynn Kinchlow. He's going to tuck himself back into line here, but Ian, look at this. I mean, they are absolutely breaking away up the front of the field here, particularly Travis Warling. He's already got that gap up to about 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, and I think that's just, 1, a little bit of setup, 2. It's just the clean air that he has on the front of his race car right now. You can see Ottinger as well starting to break off to at least a 2.5 car length lead there over Chandler. And as we look back on board here on Travis Warling's machine, we see that's almost a full 1.5 seconds, and that's a huge lead here at Homestead Miami Speedway. And we've seen those tires start to burn up here, but he's been having the car that has that short run speed to get him out to that advantage, DJ. So I guess might as well and get all you can while you can get it.
Yeah, exactly. Try to build up that gap as much as possible. Try to run here up to about 15 laps or so, and then maybe call it a day and be able to come on into pit lane and hope for another safety car to bring that out, back, and around. But this front group, really with the exception of Warling, they're keeping things very, very close. Second from 10th, only separated by about 3 seconds, and they're running very close. That was the number 23, though, of Brenton Foster, almost getting into the side there of Brian Halleck, Joey.
Hey, yeah, you know, they're running pretty close, and when you run close like that, a little elbow comes out every now and then, maybe a hip check, and yeah, I think that as we see the 44 really run that middle groove, we'll see if he can carry that momentum. We're riding along here with Tom Abramitis, running these multiple grooves that Homestead really allows these cars to run, and I think that's why the drivers like racing here so much. You know, there's lots of racetracks that are fun to drive, but there's racetracks that are fun to race, and we're seeing Homestead in its character right now.
Yeah, we really are. This multi-groove racing we really come to expect here as Foster continues trying to work his way around. That's Nathan Dowd, who was able to sneak down to his inside there in the number 147. As they now work their way through turn 3 and 4 right now on lap 36 of 267. Making good time here today, it has to be said, as drivers continue to try to work their way down into the corner. And yeah, there we see a little bit of that fan out. Kinchlow trying to go a little bit higher, really looking to maybe diamond off the corner, but he's taking a wildly different line than what we saw out of Travis Warling. Joey, he's really carrying on and then going up into the corner. Warling looks like he is just sending it from the very beginning of the corner.
I think that the 44 is trying to learn out there, and there's no harm in that, but the 44 was also a car that we saw pretty loose there in the first stint, and you know, maybe even tank slapped it up into the wall. So I don't know if he's too happy with his car setup, as it looks like this is Justin Kirby once again going side by side into turn 1. He's going to snag that 15th position away and carry it on down into turn 2. But you're right, the 44 car is trying to learn the outside, but doesn't quite have it yet, DJ.
Well, there's still plenty of time for him to learn it, and goodness gracious knows that he's got plenty of time as we now ride on board with the 54 or the 44, the UDOX Lola entry. There you see a little bit of a better line there coming off of the corner, just trying to hold things together and close down on the back of Ozzy Millwane. But as you can see there in that rear view mirror, he's also got to keep an eye behind him, because the 147 of Nathan Dowd and Tom Abramitis, two of the biggest movers of the race right now, as they are able to get themselves up and around. And Joey, I think you were looking here at Travis Warling. He's starting to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that kind of crossover point, and I think we went back to green about, lap 27, lap 28, and that's about what we saw out of the first stint right here. As we take a look at the lap times, and yeah, sure enough, the number 90 is slowing down 34.1 last lap compared to second place Nick Ottinger with a 34.0. That pack is now starting to close in on our leader.
Well, I've got to ask you here at this point, Ian, if you're in the position of Travis Warling, do you keep running that top side, or do you maybe change things up a little bit? Think about coming down to the low side and trying to save whatever you can.
Well, that's the really difficult thing, especially with these next-gen cars, DJ, because maybe in the previous gens, and maybe even the Xfinity cars and the trucks, dirty air is a big factor when you go into these corners. But here in the next-gen cars with that rear diffuser, it's not as big of a deal. So it takes away one of your cars as a driver. You're not able to put dirty nose on the car behind you and get it messed up that way. But what I think you have to do is, if you want to hold on to the position, if you want to keep Ottinger behind you, you have to kind of anticipate and take away the lane that he wants and kill his run that way. This track is so momentum heavy that I think that's the only way that you're going to maintain position when you have a disadvantage on tires like that.
All right, well, we'll have to see if that's what he does. The gap is now coming down to about 1.1 seconds here as they run, so not a whole lot of time left here as they go. If you are Travis Warling, to try to be able to close his way up here, trying to see what he's able to do. It's now down under a second. Behind them, Kinchlow running very, very high on the wall side there as well. We've got to keep our eyes here. Nick Ottinger continuing to close down. Looking at the last couple of laps here, it has been coming down by about 0.2 of a second per lap, and that is going to be plenty enough. We now ride on board with Brenton Foster in the number 23 Mega Racing team. That's the number 21 directly up ahead of him. That is Brian Pollock, as he is trying to close in on him. But I don't think here at this point, Joey, Brenton's necessarily got any impetus to try to get forward. It looks like he is just coasting at this point, wanting to get that car into the point where the money window is going to open.
You bring up a great point here, DJ. We're only working lap 43 of 267 here tonight. This is a very long race. There's no need to get too aggressive early on and really spoil your day early. And, everybody has to make it to the checkered flag out here. And I think we see some of the cars be more aggressive early on, and some of the cars maybe settle into their pace now.
Yeah, settling into that long run pace that we talked about. Who's really going to be able to come to the fore in that? And it certainly looks like here at this point that all of the Team Mega Racing machines look like they've got good run pace, being led by Nick Ottinger and Christian Challoner as they go. I've got to say, though, keeping my eyes on the front of the field here, Travis Warling getting closed down in on by Nick Ottinger. Ian, I think this could be done by the time they come around the next lap.
No, and Ottinger does have the fastest car right now, plain and simple. So we kind of mentioned earlier, if Warling wants to hold on to this position, I think next time going into 3 and 4, DJ, he takes away the bottom side. But look at this, Ottinger's already to his door, and he's going to have him side by side as they go down the backstretch.
He's going to have them side by side. The question is who's going to come out of turn 4 on the good here as they come down into the corner. You can see there Warling still able to roll a little bit more momentum, a little bit more as they go. He is going to lose the lead of the race there to Nick Ottinger, and now it's going to be a question of if Christian Challoner is able to make the move as well. There you can see those lap time comparisons, and really and truly over the last 4 laps or so, Joey, 0.3 of a second. That is a monstrous gap to be losing.
It is a big gap, and I'm going to put on my race strategist hat here a little bit and try to call this race. There's a lot of cars that can win it, but I think the most dangerous right now is that number 90 car. We're seeing him fall off. His short run speed is very fast, which makes him a huge threat late in the race, but one thing I'm noticing, he's falling off, I think, more than what he was able to charge up through the field. You mentioned it, a full 0.3 of a second slower than the leaders that last lap, and he's going to continue to drop like a rock if we stay green.
Yeah, he has got to be praying for another caution flag to come out here at this point. We're going to focus you a little bit farther back in the field. This is Nathan Dowd, who has just been passed by Tom Abramitis. Abramitis in that white number 20 machine, another one of the Mega Team Racing machines, as they work their way down through 3 and 4 right now, trying to see if they're able to roll a little bit of speed here. Looks like the 147 losing a little bit as they run. Abramitis does have that clear and precious air in front of him. It is a nice, clean racetrack to the tune of about 1.5 seconds. There you can see the closest car in the road, and that's going to give him plenty of time to just be able to move his way up, Ian. That's what you need on the front of these cars to really get everything functioning the way they're supposed to be.
I think clean air is one thing, DJ. I think the second thing is we're starting to see the point where these tires are starting to invert on people. And what I mean by that is that the drivers who've managed to save tire up on this point, you're seeing them start to gain ground on drivers that haven't done as good of a job of saving their tires. And I think that's what you see here. Abramitis just getting past by Dow there. I'm sorry, other way around. But I think that's what we're seeing, DJ, is we're seeing drivers who've managed their tires just a little bit better starting to have a slight advantage.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a storyline we continue to follow over the course of the race as we look in now on the battle for 15th. Justin Kirby, Joey Haynes, Jeff Schmeier, and Wallet there as they run. Justin Kirby trying to hold on to this to the best of his ability, but Haynes looking particularly quick coming in behind as they bring their way now down through 3 and 4. Haynes going to be poking his nose up a little bit on the high side as they continue to work their way now down through the corner. There's a little bit of a slide in front from Justin Kirby, not wanting to give that position up. All is fair in the way that they run right now, but I think we'll see a lot more of that aggression, particularly further on in the race here at this point. But I like this strategy here for Joey Haynes. Just continue to poke and prod and see if you can maybe force that number 58 into a mistake, Joey.
This has been a scrum really the entire race for 15th place between Justin Kirby, Joey Haynes, and Jeff Schmeier. We're riding on board with that number 30 car, and something that I'm noticing is, you're right, Joey Haynes is starting to poke that nose around the outside, but he's not getting the run out. He needs to have a wider entry because it's compromising his exit, as we see Jeff Schmeier really able to get the run side by side on him, and now he's going to take the position away. I think if you're going to commit to that high line, you also have to commit to a higher entry, because that's what really sets up the exit from the beginning.
Yeah, and we've seen that earlier on from Travis Warling, who, by the way, continues his fall down through the field, currently in 7th place position right now, as drivers work their way around, waiting to see what is going to play out here for the rest of these drivers. We keep our eye on this side-by-side battle farther back down in the field. This battle for 5th place right now, as the 33 running a little bit higher there for Joey Haynes. He's now got to watch out because the 114 of Jason Wallet could get interested in this as well, as he pokes his nose this way and that, continuing to try to be able to what they do. And it looks like here, Warling, Joey, you were just taking a look at this, 3.5 seconds off of the time of the leader.
You're right, yeah. He is officially dropping like a rock out there, and I think he's screaming on the radio, hey, is there any debris on the racetrack? Is there anything going on? Is there a car spun? I need a yellow flag right now.
Yeah, I think that is what he is absolutely praying for here at this point, as we do focus a little bit farther up in the field. This is Kevin Hill getting a move done on Lynn Kinchlow. Kinchlow trying to run that high side, and there is the point of consternation. That's where you've got to worry, when you've got a driver running the high side and you've got a driver running the low side, Ian. When they come together like that on the exit of the corner, that is where it can be very, very sketchy.
Absolutely. We touched on that earlier in the race. That is the advantage you have on the outside line, is you can kind of scare that driver on the inside line to lifting to give you that extra little bit of momentum. But as we start to get in longer into this tire run, and these drivers have a little bit of harder time controlling the rear end of these machines, we're going to start seeing that a little bit more and more, DJ. I believe that's what brought out our first caution, and that's what you're starting to see here once we get into these long green flag runs. It's drivers just not being able to hang on to their car as much.
Oh, as we jump on board with Travis Warling here, and look at just how much pace he is losing. That gap continues to expand. He is so off the pace, and look how squirrely he is coming off the end. I think that is without question here. His tires are absolutely shot, as now Tom Abramitis is going to be the most recent driver to be able to send it up to the inside here. Joey, as you were talking about, I'd be a little bit concerned here. If I were the rest of the field, it has to be said, yes, Worling is falling back off, but if we get into a position where we're running down to a green-white checker or a 5-lap sprint to the end, I think this number 90 car could very easily put themselves in position.
Absolutely, you're right. You know, we saw him go from 18th place to the lead in only a matter of 10 laps to start this race. So do not count this number 90 car out. He may be falling like a rock now, but as soon as we get another break with a yellow flag, he's going to be charging it right back up through the field. And it looks like, yeah, he's about 3/4 of a second a lap of us off pace from the leader right now.
Yeah, certainly looks that way. And Ian, you've got a little bit of a speculation here on what Worling may be doing that are helping him really get that short run pace.
Yeah, and this is just a hypothesis. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe he's running a very high tire pressure to start the run, DJ, so that allows them to get just such a jump off the restarts and the initial start of this race. We saw how fast he was. And then that tire falls off, happens really quickly, and you see just how much he's struggling right now to hang on to it and how much time he's losing to the leader. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what it looks like to me at least.
All right, we'll have to see if that plays out, and maybe at the end of the race, if Travis is able to get into a good position, we'll be able to talk to him about that and see if that's exactly what they can run. But right now, we focus on the battle for 13th position. Lynn Kinchlow leading Eric Smith right now, leading a little bit of a gaggle of cars, it has to be said. Justin Kirby and Joey Haynes. Oh, I think that was contact there for the 44 of Kinchlow up on the high side wall. That is not what you want to see if you are Lynn Kinchlow, especially remember, Joey, that was the car that was really the cause, is there's more contact with the outside wall for the 44.
DJ, we mentioned it earlier, the 44 was trying to learn the top groove, and oh my goodness, there was almost contact there between Kinchlow and Eric Smith as that funnel really closed off of turn 2, but the 44 has not given up on the top side. But one thing that is consistent between stint number 1 and stint number 2 is the 44 once again is in the wall. He looks very loose up there, and he's just trying to hang on for dear life right now.
Yeah, he really, really is. And I've got to start wondering here if he's going to be picking up some long-term damages. Again, he makes contact with the wall. This isn't Martinsville here, Lynch. Keep it together, buddy. You've got this. As he continues to work his way around, he is going to lose that position to Eric Smith. Tries to cut down low. That was very, very close with the 58 there of Justin Kirby. Kirby, I don't think, was too happy about that, as he's going to look down to the inside right now, trying to see what he is able to do. But Kinchlow going to hold it down on the white line right here. The 32 now looking a little bit squirrely, as somehow Kinchlow able to get himself back up into the lead of this pack. Ian, I don't know how that happened.
Oh, and you saw in that onboard shot coming off of 2, that move there to the inside down the backstretch, just how close it was at the virtual mirror for Kinchlow there. And even again, coming off of 3 and 4 there, the field stacks up again. This group of 5 or 6 cars here, it's been interesting the last couple of laps, DJ.
Interesting to say the least. This is really where the battle is now Kinchlow looks this way, looks that way, trying to be able to get his way around right now, trying to see if he's able to get anything whatsoever, but he's going to roll that speed up to the high side. Is he going to make contact with the outside wall? He's able to back it off there just enough, and he's got to be careful as we now ride on board with, I believe this is Joey Haynes, as he is sitting in the catbird seat. Big contact there to the outside wall for the 44. Oh man, if I am his crew chief, I am shouting in his ear to bring that thing down into pit lane. I have to think those tires are shut! And there's the 58 around, and that's going to bring out the yellow!
Really unfortunate incident up there, DJ. We saw the 44 hit the wall several times. I'm not sure if he had terminal damage, and ultimately Justin Kirby in the number 58 was the one who paid the price off of turn 2.
Yeah, he certainly did, as Kinchlow's car just looked all kinds of squirrely there, and there was no room at the end as they came in. We're going to watch here as they come off of the corner. There you can see the contact. You know, I've got to say that looks a little bit like almost a bit of a racing incident. I think the 58 may have moved up the track a little bit as the 44 was trying to gather the car back up underneath him. Ian, we're going to ride on board. Tell me what you're thinking from your perspective.
I have to agree with you, DJ. If you take a look at it here, we're going to look at it from Kinchlow's perspective, coming down a little bit, and I think it's just 2 people going for the same real estate there and not knowing that they were quite there in the moment. A little bit of wheel spin possibly from the 44 machine. Trying to hang on to that line. You did see both of them kind of came together. It wasn't one driver into another per se, DJ.
Well, what that is going to do here at this point is that it's going to reset the field as they all come back down into pit lane on lap 63 of 267. They're all going to be coming down into the pits here, and this is going to be, I think, for them a little bit later on than they may have necessarily wanted to, especially if you are Warling here at this point. But I think for plenty of these drivers, this is going to be a little bit of a godsend as they're able to get themselves back out on track. It's going to be up in the front of the field here, Nick Ottinger and Christian Challoner. Interesting that Justin Kirby and Brent Kirby have opted to stay out. I've got to think that is a bit of a terminal decision to make. That is not going to be helping you whatsoever here, Joey.
I wouldn't think so either, especially with one of the Kirbys there involved in that accident. I would think that he's got some pretty heavy damage involved in that car, and we've got, I think, over 30 laps on this current set of tires. I'm not sure on this strategy call, but they've both stayed out on the racetrack, and you know what? Here they come down onto pit road. Maybe it was just a miscue.
Yeah, it could have been, as that makes a lot more sense there. And thank you to our director, Adam Lindgren. It was 37 green flag laps was that last stint. As there you see everybody working their way back down into pit lane, both of the Kirbys coming on in, as is, I believe, Ryan Steele there, one of the lapped cars. So as of right now, it is Ottinger, Challoner, Waring, Halleck, and Foster. Our fast mover here early on, Travis Warling, was able to hold on to the gap in 7th place. So I've got to think here, Ian, we're going to see that car play its cards once again, move their way up forward, try to lead this race a little bit, and see if that's going to put them in another good position, and maybe hope for a fortuitous yellow to come out.
Yeah, and look at that. That were minus 15 spots on pit road, so I wonder maybe a 2-tire call or maybe even fuel only for them. Warling picking up 3 spots with the race off of pit road there. I'm interested to see DJ. We talked about earlier running those high tire pressures possibly. Interested to see how much of a run he gets here early in this green flag stint. But yeah, we were talking about those drivers that were thinking about staying out. I think that would, like you said, almost be terminal at this point. Just way too many laps on the tires and sitting ducks for the rest of the field. To be completely fair, it'd probably cause just another incident.
Yeah, I mean, if we were talking about 10 or 15 laps under green and they pulled in, I would understand a decision to do that. But 37 green flag laps, especially here in this South Florida heat, not at all, I think, what you want to be messing with here. We do have, unfortunately, 2 DNFs on the day. Carl Burke and Aaron Roofs both calling it a day early. They will be categorized as 28th and 29th, respectively. As we take a look here on the field, forming up behind the iRacing pace car right now, unless my eyes deceive me, the lights are indeed out, and that means we will be going back to green flag racing here on lap 66. So just under 200 laps to go here at Homestead, Miami. We've really seen everything play itself out. We've seen just how far along it can be, and we've got to keep our eyes going as to what they are able to go. Lap 66 here is when they will be back to green flag racing. As they continue themselves around here, it will be Nick Ottinger, again, choosing to start from the low line here as they go. That's going to be what he is focused on. He likes that inside line. Really the only driver that we've seen successfully be able to run that outside line here at this point has been Travis Warling. But for the rest of the drivers, we will have to see what they are able to do. As now we focus in, Nick Ottinger leading the way around right now as the iRacing pace car about to pull off down pit lane, and we're ready to get back racing here at Miami Homestead. And it looks like that they are going to enter into the green flag zone, and there goes Ottinger again. Ottinger and Challoner both looking like they're getting a pretty good breakaway here. I would not be surprised if we see that number 1 machine slot down into position, and that's exactly what he's going to do here at this point. Andrew Waring going to hold on to 3rd place. It is a little bit of side-by-side there between Brenton Foster and Brian Halleck as they run a little bit of 2-3 wide farther back in the pack here as they go. But as they thunder their way down the backstretch, Ian, it looks like everything is starting to be a little bit calm.
Yeah, and really it's been a calm race so far. The only 2 cautions we've had are kind of at the tail end of runs here for these drivers. So it's been convenient so far with the tire cycles. We haven't seen a green flag stop yet. And the way that these drivers are going and the pace that we've had to this race so far, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a green flag run that's long enough to see a stop under green. But it's just been conveniently placed yellow so far for this field.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there on that. But one thing may come into play about that is the track temperature has ticked up by a couple of degrees Fahrenheit. It's currently 106 degrees Fahrenheit out on the track right now as we inch closer and closer to the end of this race. It's just past about 1:50 virtual standard time, so it's going to continue to heat up a little bit as this continues. By the way, popping down to the inside there, that is the number 20 machine of Tom Abramitis trying to make a move on the 147 of Nathan Dowd. Again, Abramitis having a stellar day here. He is up 20 positions, and that is a big, big move there for him. He's going to be very, very pleased to be into that spot here as they continue to run and work their way around right now. Surprise of absolutely no one there, Joey. We see the number 90, Travis Warling, riding the high line and trying to keep himself up high and get some good speed.
It took him about 2.5 laps to decide to go up there. I was curious to see if he was going to start to run the lower line here this stint and maybe have a little bit more tire wear and just see what that would do. But you're right, the number 90 has officially moved up the racetrack. He's going to start to run this higher groove now. And as we see as they go down the straightaways, it just really plays to his benefit. And I think it works better here in 3 and 4 with him. He can really charge into the corner in comparison to 1 and 2.
Yeah, he really can, and that certainly looks like what he is doing here at this point. A little bit of a wiggle in front of him there for Brenton Foster, but Foster's going to be able to keep everything under control, it looks like, and there's going to be the parting of the seas as he works his way out right now. You can see just how much room there is for him to maneuver up top. Question is if he's going to find himself boxed in a little bit by the number 23 of Brenton Foster, and indeed that looks like exactly what is going to happen. He's going to find himself boxed in, and he'll have to come back up to the high line here as he continues to work his way around, trying to just see if there is any space to be had. Now he's going to pull along parallel with Brenton Foster, trying to move his way on Brian Halleck as they run. And again, if this is high tire pressures here, Ian, it's paying off in spades early on in the race.
Yeah, I will say one thing, though. I worry that maybe he's committing to that high side a little bit too much early in these runs here. You see that there's some times where he gets behind another car and he just kind of files in. I think here you kind of need to maybe go for a crossover move and go for the low line and just try to get to the front as quickly as you can. And if you're going to run those high pressures or if you're going to run a setup that's good for the short run, you need to go and get as much space as you possibly can. And I think he's wasting just a tiny bit of time here by taking the outside line each and every time.
Yeah, I have to kind of agree with you there on that. I know I've found when I run Homestead in really whatever car, one of the most successful lines is that crossover line, and so that is one we always want to keep an eye on. But while we were keeping our eyes on the number 90, there was a pass for the final podium position as Andrew Waring was able to get by Christian Challoner, and Challoner is now back down into what is 4th place position. Travis Warling, though, up at the front of the field, well, doing what we've seen him do time and time again. He is back up to the lead of the race. Joey, this is where that clean air is going to start to play. Remember the drop-off that we saw him have a little bit earlier on? He's going to be hoping to be able to get enough of a gap to avoid that if at all possible.
I think so too, and he took his time working his way up through the field this time and kind of picking between the low line and the high line, but ultimately settled on that high line as we see the number 3 car, Andrew Waring, make a pass down for the 2nd place. He gets around Nick Ottinger there. And yeah, I've had my eye on that green car, that number 3 green car. Looks like he might have got a little loose out of turn 2 as the battle rages on here for 2nd place side by side down into turn 1, but looks like Andrew Waring is going to secure that 2nd place, and he's moved his way up on this restart all the way up there to 2nd place, DJ.
Yeah, able to get by the black stripe of Nick Ottinger here. Ottinger now going to give him a little bit of a how you doing, a little bit of a push coming down the back straightaway, and that'll give him a little bit of extra momentum coming into the corner. Challoner is now down to 5th place, by the way. As you can see there, the 147 of Nathan Dowd has been able to move his way up forward in the field, so another good run there for Nathan Dowd. He'll be very, very happy to see that happen. Now, I thought Nick Ottinger was going to be in a position to be able to sit back and relax here and maybe just allow for Andrew Waring to lead this race, but it certainly doesn't look like that, Ian. It looks like Ottinger, rather, wanting to fight Waring here.
Yeah, at first I agree with you, too, because it really looked like Ottinger let Waring by that time, and then you saw there just the push down the backstretch and then the shove into the corner. I don't think it was meaning to be aggressive, but I think Ottinger is trying to politely say to Waring, hey, you're holding me up a little bit here, and I really want to get past you and get back into this clean air. I think that's really what Ottinger is trying to get right here, is if he can get back into clean air again, that car looks really good. That 25 Logitech machine really holds the bottom of the racetrack well as long as he's in clean air.
Yeah, as long as he's in clean air. And frankly, I'd be a little bit frustrated here if I was in the position of Nick Ottinger, as he's losing time here to Travis Worling, and he knows just what that means. Worling is in the good stage of the tires here at this point, so he's going to be able to streak off into the distance, where that gap was about a second and a half before Worling started to fall off. And I've got to think this constant side-by-side battling right now with Andrew Worling is going to do nothing but slow down Nick Ottinger, so that is not what he wants to have happen whatsoever. Down, however, riding behind them, he is certainly in the popcorn position. Christian Challoner thinking about making this 2x2, a little bit of Noah's Ark style, as now it looks like Ottinger's got a little bit of clearance there. He's just about to the front quarter panel as they dive down into turn 1, working their way through the corner as they go. And there comes the momentum, and there comes down, Joey.
Yeah, there's an impressive run from actually Brian Halleck as well in the 21 car. You were asking if this is choking up and slowing them down up front, and oh my gosh, it's 2x2 for third, fourth, fifth, all the way back to 6th place right now. Impressive racing from this group as Andrew Warren once again gets clear of the 25 of Nick Ottinger down the back straightaway, but like you mentioned, it's definitely holding up this big pack, and we're starting to see it accordion.
Yeah, there you get a great camera angle. Kudos once again to art director Adam Lindgren for showing that. You can see the absolute bunch up is now Worling has been able to get to the front of this pack, but the damage has been done. Worling is now at 1.1 seconds up the road from all of them, and so they're going to have to play a little bit of catch up here. As we look farther back in the pack, that is the number 32. That's Eric Smith trying to make some moves up on the high side. Whoa, big wiggle there for one of the machines farther back. That was J-Mo. That was Justin Morton getting it all kinds of wrong.
Yeah, that was a big moment there, and you really got to go back to Waring there on just on the outside and holding up Ottinger there for all these laps, TJ. It's caused the accordion effect on the field, as Joey mentioned, and really, if you're Waring there was no need to go side by side with Ottinger for that many laps. Not only did you use up Ottinger's equipment there, you kind of used up your own, and now you just find yourself in a situation where you might bring out a caution flag earlier than you wanted to, because the field is, like we mentioned, just side by side about 6 rows deep now.
Yeah, and now the problem, Joey, you were keeping an eye on it for Travis Worling as we've entered back into the fall-off zone here at this point. The gap coming down under a second as they run, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. As there you see your leader, and that gap, as we said, there it's starting to fall once again.
Definitely, he was able to hold it steady this previous lap, but that's only because this battle for second place is still going on between the number 25 and number 3 car here on the screen. Nick Ottinger and Andrew Waring. That's Nick Ottinger in the black car down low, battling the green number 3 on the top side of the screen as they race down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. And we've seen turn 3 really be able to charge the entry as we see the 3 carry that, but coming out here on the exit, it's going to go to Nick Ottinger as they once again neck and neck down the front straightaway, DJ.
Oh, and almost getting into each other there. A little bit of very close running in between those two. I don't think there's any love lost between the number 3 and the number 25, but they've got to get their differences sorted out. Otherwise, they're going to be running 3 wide here as they continue to go. This has the potential to pop off for something particularly brutal here, as it does look like it's been a little bit less boxed up, although I do see a little bit of side-by-side farther in the back between Eric Smith and Tom Abramitis. Continue to watch here Travis Worling looking at the back of his machine, Ian. If I'm Nick Ottinger, I'm very, very tentative to try to make this way 3 wide here. We know that Worling's tires are going to fall off. We know that Andrew Waring is particularly aggressive, but here we go.
Well, you mentioned it. There you go. Side by side, almost 3 wide now. For the lead, Ottinger will take the inside line here on Worling. We know how much Worling likes the outside, though, but we've seen at this point in runs is where Ottinger can start to flip the script on Worling. You're going to see him go down on the outside here, watch that 25 machine slide up here in front of Worling, take the lead away with 84 laps now on the books here from Virtual Homestead Miami Speedway, DJ. It really, we just kind of see this happening every single time we go down and get tires, is that 25, I'm sorry, Worling's machine is fast up front and then just falls off, and here's where he starts to slide back down for the field.
Yeah, and you were really taking a look at that move in some detail, Joey. A little bit of pinching down for Nick Ottinger to make that work absolutely spectacular to get that 2-1.
Yeah, you know, it was a very good move. He was really being pinched down on the low side from Andrew Waring as we get 3 wide racing further back in the pack. That's the number 147 battling it out with, I believe, the number 23. That's Nathan Dowd right now. Is once again the character of Miami Homestead. Once these cars start to have some tire fall off, we get battles side by side, 2 wide and even 3 wide, as that's the 90 car continuing to fall back. He is all the way back to 4th place now.
Yeah, he's all the way back down to 4th here as this battle right now. His teammates there, the 23 of Brenton Foster and the number 20 of Tom Abramitis, the 147 of Nathan Dowd, that 147 machine that you see just in front of them as they try to get their way around. It looks like Foster is going to be able to move his way up to the high side here as we've got a little bit of a battle for second that we've got to clue in on. Andrew Waring and Christian Challoner. I think Challoner tired of waiting around as well. Remember, Waring was able to get him about 10 or so laps ago as they came around. And now it is time for Challoner to be back in the catbird seat, Joey.
I think that the 3 is really showing some aggressive moves out there, and he's showing that he's got a really fast race car and he wants to be up at the front, but ultimately I think it's the number 25 and the number 1 car that have been the smoothest out there, and I think that's why we see these cars kind of lead to the front at the longer runs. The 90 car is so fast on the shorter runs, and the 3 is putting up an impressive fight right now for second place. As, oh my gosh, they make contact coming out of turn 2. Christian Challoner and Andrew Waring battling it out on the racetrack.
They are duking it out. They are trading paint in old school NASCAR style, and that is going to put Christian Challoner off the groove there a little bit. I think he was the one that really had to check up as courtesy of that contact. You can continue to see Warling running high, but look at the run here that Challoner has off of turn 4. He's going to tuck his nose right behind, try to see if there's any movement to be had, looking his way down into the corner right now. He's going to be getting a good benefit of the draft here, trying to poke his nose a little bit lower on the racetrack to see if he can just get a little bit of clean air. Got to be careful here not to wash up too much. That number 3 being very, very aggressive, not only with his attacks, but his defense here, Ian. He is certainly not wanting to give any positions away.
You mentioned the aggressiveness, and yeah, I'm kind of sitting here a little puzzled, wondering why Challoner and Waring here are fighting this hard for this spot. I do understand that it's a position here for second, chasing down Nick Ottinger, our leader. But really, we've seen it time and time again, and this 3 car just did it with Ottinger. You're going to use up your equipment racing side by side here. You're going to lose time to the drivers behind you, and it's going to be even easier for Ottinger to pull away. You see now Challoner able to make the pass finally on that 3 machine, but they were racing for the wool out there, DJ, like it was the last 10 laps of this race.
Yeah, they certainly were, and that's very surprising to me. We are so used to seeing good, calm, cool, collected racing from these drivers. It's a little bit surprising to see some of that unbridled aggression as we have officially crossed over the 1/3 mark in this race here at this point. We take you a little bit farther back into the field right now. That is Travis Warling running up on that high side. That's going to be the number 32 there down to the inside of Eric Smith. Brian Halleck and J-Mo trying to follow him up along through as they go. Not going to play itself out there. Looks like a nice little draft here for the number 90. He's going to move his way back up to his preferred high line here as they work their way down into the corner. And it looks like the number 17 there, Wayne Hutchison, maybe trying to take a little bit of a leaf out of Travis Warling's book. He's running up on the high side, and it looks like for a second there, Joey, that it could be playing some good dividends.
I was seeing that as well. Yeah, that's the number 17, Wayne Hutchinson, trying the outside here. Also the number 14 of Ozzie Milwane, also trying to run a little bit of a higher groove. But one thing that I'm noticing is that when these cars really don't commit to a high entry, they kind of get pinched off on the exit, and we see some pretty big moments coming out of turn 2 and turn 4, and I think it's actually caught a couple cars out earlier in the race, but I'm seeing the number 17 also come into effect there. Is just a little bit of a wiggle loose coming out of turn 4, and it just kind of kills the momentum down the straightaway.
Yeah, just that little bit of wiggle loose can certainly throw it off. And remember, we're on about lap 29 of our pit stop cycle here. So getting up to 30 laps, that is about where we were. Remember, last time we had that yellow flag come out was at the 37 lap point. Now we have down to the inside the 17 of Hutchison, and that's going to be the 52 of Kevin Hill, trying to help each other out a little bit. Warling continues to run that high group, but continues to slip back farther down in the order here as he finds himself really losing position. Now he's able to gain up a little bit more, but this is a real struggle here for them, Ian.
Yeah, and look at this, 3 teammates right here side by side, and you want to race. Everybody is aggressive. They're all here for their own race, but at the same time, you got to be careful, especially as we get longer into this run here. We've seen that's when trouble starts to happen. Is when two cars are running side by side, especially one underneath the other one coming off the corners. And when you're this close to your teammates, you really don't want to make that mistake here, DJ.
Yeah, you certainly don't. You do not want to break the fundamental rule of auto racing, which is do not crash your teammate. Up at the front of the field, by the way, just to remind everybody, the Christian Challenger has been able to get by Andrew Waring there, so that continues to be a 1-2 team, Mega Racing team run as they go. And Joey, you've been taking a look at a bunch of these drivers here coming out of the corners. We're certainly starting to enter into the danger zone.
Yeah, a little bit of the danger zone. You know, the temps are fluctuating out there, but one thing, this track gets dirty. We mentioned all the sand, you know, pre-race, and as we get the tire wear really late into the run, these cars are just starting to wiggle and slide a little bit more each lap. And I'm specifically noticing it out of turn 4, really from all of the different lines, these drivers are really having to be careful on the exit of 4 with the throttle and keeping the car in line. Otherwise, it steps out and gets really loose on them.
Yeah, and that is not what you want to have happening. That's really the reason why we saw the last 2 incidents take place, was getting loose, not out of turn 4, but out of turn 2 as they continue to go around. We jump on board the nose here of Tom Abramitis. That's his teammate, Brenton Foster, directly up ahead of him. Now, Foster's got some good, clean air to run on. It's about a 1.6-second gap between himself and the leading 3 right now. So I've got to think here for these teammates that it's pretty much in good condition here for them. They're going to be pretty happy to just stay in line, continue to run here in the top 5, and not necessarily get themselves too thrown out, Ian.
Yeah, this is a good spot to be in, especially when you're with your teammate. You see both of them go down to the low side here, and you do see that Dowd there in the background is starting to catch these 2 drivers, but something that they can do to keep the clean air on both of their noses is they can kind of talk together as teammates and say, hey, let's alternate the lines we're going to take through the corner here, or maybe one line you take the high line, one line I take the low line. That'll also kind of slow down Dowd a little bit too, and let them kind of keep in this little spot of track position they found themselves in.
Yeah, and there you can visually see the gap as they work their way off of turn 2. Ottinger, Challoner, and Waring leading up in front of the field now by about 2 seconds as they run. We continue to keep our eyes here on the battle for P4. Foster leading Abramitis, leading Nathan Dowd, and that lurking in the background there is Eric Smith and Brian Halleck. They're certainly not out of this equation, certainly not if anything fires off in terms of a battle here. Now take a ride on board the number 147 as we get closer and closer to our longest green flag run of the day, Joey. We've got about 2 laps until we hit that point. These tires are got to be screaming here at this point, I'd have to imagine.
I think maybe they're feeling a little bit like gummy bears underneath these big old NASCAR next-gen cars. Got to remind yourselves that these are big, heavy cars, and they are hauling the mail around this place. Really low grip, and as the tires wear on, it just gets to be more of a battle each lap, and the car actually drives differently as we're seeing 2 different grooves now out of these cars directly in front of us. It's just that little bit of a dance that Miami Homestead makes you do as, ooh, a big wiggle there out of the 23 right in front of us.
Yeah, that was a big moment for Brenton Foster, and look what Nathan Dowd has been able to do with it. He's been able to close up on the back of that number 23. He's now going to have a little bit of a look around the high side. He's going to hope that he can just get a little bit of crossover there, but it looks like running off of the corner is going to be just enough for Brenton Foster to be able to keep that position for now as they continue to work their way now down into turn 1, and we cross over the century mark here at the season finale for Majors America region as they continue to work their way through right now. Looks like a little bit farther back in the pack. We've got another battle, this for 18th. Justin Kirby leading Brian Barnes, leading Partridge, leading Jeff Schmeier as they work their way out of turn 2 right now, trying to see what is going to be able to bring itself up. Good recovery here for a couple of these drivers. You were just noticing there that Kirby had a big moment, Joey.
Well, yeah, if you remember, Justin Kirby was actually that car that was involved in that last accident with the number 44 car. So good to see this car back out there making up positions. He's all the way back up into the 18th spot, still holding it off from the number 4 car of Brian Barnes, who's been in his mirror really all this, I would say, last 5 or 7 laps here. And I think there's about 4 cars between Justin Kirby, Brian Barnes, Ray Partridge, and Jeff Schmier that are all in this battle for 18th place on the racetrack, DJ.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly plenty of battles here that are starting to shape themselves out here. Ozzie Milwane and Kevin Hill currently in the battle for 11th place right now. That's going to lead them forward, and they're going to go side by side, or now they're going to fall back into a little bit of single file order here for these teammates as we have officially crossed over into the territory of the unknown. We are on lap 39 of this stint. That is officially our longest green flag stint here for these drivers. As we look at the leaders right now, Ian, they're starting to separate themselves out a little bit more. I've got to think that is in direct result to the tire wear.
Oh, absolutely, the tire wear, and as well, another thing that maybe some of these drivers aren't used to with as long of a green flag run as we see ourselves having here, as we kind of take a look at onboard or overhead at Nick Ottinger and Kristen Shanley here, our battle for first and second, is that the more fuel that these cars use, DJ, the more fuel that's out of the rear end of this car, the rear end will start to feel lighter and lighter, and it'll walk on you more and more. And not only the tire wear, but the weight coming off the rear end of the car definitely changes the handling as well. And it's something that a lot of drivers on iRacing were not used to, making these very long green flag runs. It's something that you really probably haven't practiced a lot unless you're somebody like Nick Ottinger.
Yeah, certainly true there. Nick Ottinger, one of the black stripes here as we check in on the battle for 7th place right now. Halleck leading Smith, leading J-Mo. And Joey, you've been keeping an eye here on the number 90 machine. We've been keeping a very, very close eye on the pace of that car. Looks like they've been falling back down through the field.
Yeah, he's fallen all the way back down to 13th place right now. His last lap time was a 35.6. Compare that to the leader of a 34.9. That's over half a second off. And he's continuing to fall out there, but we mentioned if they get the yellow flags, this 90 car really rockets back up to the front. But man, on these long green flag runs, it's got to be a frustrating drive out there for this 90 of Travis Warling.
Yeah, it certainly has to be. Just knowing that that long, long run is coming back to bite you time in and time out, that cannot be good, as now we see just how much pace has been lost over the course of all of the last couple of laps. They're losing about 0.8 of a second per lap. And Ian, I mean, if you're sitting behind the driver's seat, is there absolutely anything you can do to try to save yourself at this point, or is it just basically hold on and pray here at this point?
Well, I say maybe there's one thing you could possibly do, DJ, something we haven't really touched on so far in the broadcast is that you do have to use a little bit of brake in these next-gen cars going down into the corner. You could possibly adjust your brake bias and give yourself a little bit of a different feel as far as handling-wise goes from there. But really, at this point, it's just the driver who saved their tires the best and still has the most left there on their Goodyear rubber is going to be the driver that has the best time.
Yeah, as we continue to work along here, about lap 44 of the this stint that we are out and on right now, I've got to imagine that we're going to start to see some drivers maybe thinking about coming down into pit lane here at this point, at least if not now, relatively soon here. So look out the back of the machines, that dog there, number 12, starting to close in a little bit more on the number 90 of Travis Warling as they continue to work their way through. Warling drifting up the track there a little bit, trying to catch that car before it makes contact with the outside barriers. He's able to do just that, but that's not the kind of running that he wants to be able to have. He certainly wants to just try to keep things on the straight and narrow here at this point, but he has changed lines now at this point, Joey. He is down to the inside line, just doing anything to make that car point the right direction.
I'm watching that myself, and you're right. You know, he went down into the bottom groove that lap, and once again, he dives down to that white line here in turn 1 and 2. In my opinion, it's way too little, way too late to try to save your tires now that you've cooked them off. You kind of have to commit to your strategy, but I think he's just saving or hanging on for dear life out there, and once again, just kind of waiting for this yellow flag and hoping for a brand new set of tires.
Yeah, looks very, very loose on entry coming into the corner here is the note we're getting from our director, Adam Lindgren, as he continues to try to follow behind here. Incredible credits too. He's not giving up the fight here at this point. And as you just pointed out there, Joey, probably a cooked right rear is where we're really going to see that come in. Well, let's look ahead here a little bit into this race, and now that we're talking about a specific side of the car getting itself cooked a little bit, if we enter down into strategy in the last half of the race, do you think it's going to be worth it here at some point to only take 2 tires, or is that going to be a death knell with the tire wear that we've seen over the course of this running?
Really, I only think the only place that'll be an advantage, DJ, is if we get ourselves into a green-white checkered situation, or maybe down with about 4 or 5 laps to go. You can really gain a lot of track possession by going for a 2-tire call, but I think you can't give yourself too many laps to let that tire advantage catch back up to you. I really don't think it's going to be anything we'll see these teams do with 20, 25 laps to go, 50 laps to go. But if we get into a position where a lot of the field comes down, you might be able to sneak something with the 2-tire call.
All right, we'll have to see if that is the call. I have to agree with you there about that from what I have seen. And the other part of it for a lot of the running is it's very hard to be able to run on those 2-tire calls because you're not normally prepped to do it. Your setup isn't right for it as they really bring their way through. As we ride on board with Justin Morton right now in the number 9 machine, he's very much soft shoeing it through the corners, not being too aggressive there with the throttle input, being very, very soft with that right foot. And I think that goes to show that it's not just Warling here that is running out of tires. We are almost on lap 50 here, Joey, and I think everybody's tires are pretty much cooked. As there you see a big wiggle out of JMO.
Yeah, it is continuing to get slippery out there, and it's not going to get any better unless the first car dives down to pit road. And let me tell you, when that first car makes the move, everybody is going to sigh a huge breath of relief because they're going to dive down to pit road and the floodgates will open, the dominoes will fall, but it all comes down to who is going to dive down to pit road first. Because if you do, you're putting yourself in a pretty big danger area if there's a yellow on the racetrack and you go a lap down.
Well, and as we've seen here, the yellow flag is most likely to come out near the end of these long green flag runs. The tires are cooked and the cars become more unpredictable, so you're very right. It puts you into a very, very rough position there. We haven't seen anybody make the call down into pit lane here at this point. Nick Ottinger continues to lead by a gap of about 1.5 seconds here over Christian Challoner. Challoner is just bringing that number 1 machine around where he needs to do. Andrew Waring continues to make up the rest of the podium here. He runs in 3rd place, and he's starting to lose a little bit of time to Tom Abramitis behind. I'm wondering here if maybe Abramitis and the rest of that mega team racing team, Joey, has really set up the cars here for the long run.
Yeah, Tom Abramitis is having a great run here in 4th place in the number 20 machine. He's actually clicking off very impressive lap times. His last lap was a 35.3. Compare that to the leader of Nick Ottinger, 35.2. So he is right there doing the same pace that our leader is doing, and he's actually hunting down the 3rd place car. That's the number 3 of Andrew Waring. So Tom definitely has a great setup race car underneath him, and he's continuing to move forward with great lap time.
Yeah, he's really doing what he needs to do. And take a look at the gap he's been able to grow between himself and Brenton Foster. Remember, they looked inseparable earlier on in this stint. And now that team, those 2 teammates are separated by about 3 seconds on the racetrack. Now, as we continue to go around, though, the other thing that's going to start to play into consideration here, that is going to be lapped traffic. Nick Ottinger is coming up behind a little bit of it in the form of the number 44 of Hinchlow as he tries to work his way on by. He is hopefully going to be able to get by, but is that going to be a big consideration here for these drivers, Ian, or do you think there's enough space on the racetrack for them to get out of the way?
No, I mean, worst case scenario, if you're one of these drivers and you're really concerned about it, you do have the access road, I guess, that you could use if you wanted to as well. Kind of unorthodox, but if you're that concerned about it, you do have that option. You see here as the cars come out of 3 and 4, you do have a pretty decent runoff area there. I will say the biggest concern that I would have if I was in one of these race cars out here right now is that transition from the 18 degrees of banking down to the apron as you enter pit road. Especially in these next-gen cars, you know how twitchy they are and how easy it is to just snap around on you. That would probably be my greatest concern, but as far as other traffic, I'm not really worried about that.
We got to spin on the racetrack. Yellow coming out of turn 4.
Oh, that's Jonathan Medeiros there having a little bit of a problem, and that is going to bring out a yellow flag, much to the grin, I think, of the entire field. It looks like Medeiros didn't hit anything. I think he was able to keep everything pointed in the right direction. It just looked like, Ian, that the rear end of that car let go. Well, let's take a look at the replay.
DJ, this might have been just what I was talking about. I think maybe he was trying to go to pit road, and the banking caught him.
Oh, that's exactly it. Get you a crystal ball and call you a fortune teller, Ian. That was called perfectly. That's exactly what happened.
Hey, something about a broken clock twice a day or something like that, right, DJ?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. As we take another overhead view here, Medeiros, just tried to come down into pit lane, be the first of those cars to do it, and just touched the apron. It also looked like the number 23 there, I think, or the 032 was trying to come in. The 023, Daniel B. Johnson, was attempting to come in as well, but that may have been called off. But now, Joey, I've got to imagine pretty much everybody going to be coming down pit lane here at this point, as there we see them streaking down across the line. Yes, indeed, everybody from Nick Ottinger all the way back to Ozzie Milwayne in 11th are going to be coming in. This is going to be the entire field.
Definitely the only reason to stay out on the racetrack right now is if you are a lap down and need to get that back. What's important right now is the 25 and 1 car need to stop in their box and not overshoot it here as they enter in. And it looks like they both have a great clean entry. It looks like for the most part the entire field has a pretty smooth entry, and it's so important not to give up those positions that you've gained on the racetrack.
Yeah, it very much is. You've very much got to be on top of your game here, as there we see exiting out of pit lane. It's going to stay in the order that it was. Ottinger leading Challoner, leading Warning, leading Abramitis, Dowd, Foster, Halleck, Smith, JMO, and Wayne Hutchison, your top 10. And folks, that's going to go ahead and lead us to a very quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel, but do not go anywhere. We will be back for the resumption of Green Flag Laps in just a moment. Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. The lights are out on the iRacing safety car, and we are ready to go back racing here for the Majors Championship weekend as the field forms its way around 2 by 2 on the backstretch. Trying to be able to work their way on through right now. It will be Nick Ottinger in the number 25, leading the way here with Christian Challoner, Andrew Waring, and Tom Abramitis hot on his heels. They work their way down the backstretch right now, and a fresh set of tires going onto the car as we have seen our longest green flag run of 56 laps taking place for these drivers. But a fresh set of boots onto the car right now, as that means that they will be able to re-rack and restack and get back to green flag racing here with just over 100 laps left to go in this finale here in the Majors Series Americas region. Everybody lining themselves up here. Christian Challoner just pulling back a little bit as they go, waiting to see exactly how everything will play itself out, and waiting here for the iRacing safety car to peel off down into pit lane. There it goes down into the pits as we enter into the restart zone, and there goes Nick Ottinger again onto the loud panel. It looks like Waring's going to try to close up that gap, but I think again Challoner's going to be able to just come down and get into that position. And how many times have we seen this, Joey, as back through the rest of the field? It looks like a little bit of 2 by 2, and here comes the rest of Mega Team Racing.
You're right. Those 3 white cars were lined up top, and they've certainly shown the momentum down the back straightaway here. They're going to claim the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions as the number 3 car continues to fall back just a little bit. That's Andrew Waring that we're riding along with right here. He had some incredible speed last stint, but doesn't seem to have it on this restart.
I'll tell you who does, though. That is J-Mo in the number 9 machine, Justin Morton. He rolled the high side through 3 and 4 as they tried to be able to go, and now he's going to tuck in behind this big train of Team Mega Racing drivers. Absolutely incredible stuff here from them, Ian. That is absolute domination at the front of the field.
Oh, and it's just such a nice thing to have your teammates at the front of the field like this. It's not someplace like Talladega or Daytona where you're worrying about draft partners as much, but knowing you have a teammate on either side of you or right next to you on the racetrack, it's got to make you feel good. You feel a lot more confident into your moves, and then especially if you're someone like Justin Morton we were just on board with, it makes you nervous. Like, do I get in the middle of these teammates, or are they going to box me in? What do I do in this situation? So definitely good to have 3 of your teammates with you up front.
Well, and as has been the story, every single time here we have had a restart, the number 90 working its way up through the order. There you can see him running on the high side right now. This is Travis Warling, as he is going to be able to get by Eric Smith, now setting his eyes on the number 21 of Brian Halleck directly up ahead of him, as he is going to now try to do what he has done on every single restart that he has seen. Roll the high side, keep that speed rolling as much as possible, and I've got to say here, Joey, it looks like he's going to be successful once again.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be successful early on like we've seen all night, and it's just a matter of how long he can hold that speed, as he seems to make up monstrous amount of ground here in turns 3 as he actually decides to run the white line this time. You know, if you're going to commit to this strategy, I'd like to see the number 90 car go ahead and do it every single lap rather than flip-flop the grooves and just see if he can hang on up top for longer.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there on that, but we've got a real gaggle a little bit farther down in the pack. That is the number 17 of Wayne Hutchison, finding himself surrounded by those green machines. All of those teammates is up the front of the field. It also looks a little bit tight there as they run. Only about 0.2 of a second separating them. Now it looks like J-Mo trying to be able to maybe think about a little bit of a move here. Big closing speed from the number 23 there of Brenton Foster. Foster had to back off a little bit coming through the corner, and that's going to check him up. It may leave him vulnerable to attack from the Forge Racing driver of Justin Morton.
Yeah, really, I think if you're Justin Morton right now, I think you got to try the high side. It looks like these teammates here are all linked up on the bottom, and they're really controlling that bottom line. If I'm Morton, I'm going to the high side here, trying to pick them off one at a time, and the advantage of the high side as well, DJ, it gives you a little bit of room to bail out in case the driver below you gets loose, kind of slides up the racetrack a little bit.
Oh, and speaking of getting loose there, I just saw a big moment coming out of Travis Warling. He looked very, very squirrely on entrance into the corner, but we ride on board with J-Mo right now. As you can see, it looks like a little bit of calmness starting to descend over about the first 10 drivers here in the field. A little bit farther back, it still remains to be a little bit chaotic as they run. Right now, I'm thinking here, Joey, that we may see a little bit of a changing of the guard here when it comes to Travis Warling. He was able to get himself into contention to run up the front of the field. I wonder if he's starting to think about tire wear here a little bit.
I think you're right, but I think his car setup really is a short-run car because he's really fighting a loose condition even early on in the corner. As we're going to get side by side, he's going to look down the inside here for what is the the 5th place on the racetrack. He's going to go ahead and take that away there, move him up one more spot. So the bottom of the racetrack he can pass on as well as the top, but I was mentioning he looks really loose going into the corner, and that's something that you can't really drive out no matter where you are on the racetrack. You're just going to kind of have to hang on to it. That's your setup.
Yeah, you're not really going to be able to change that whatsoever, and so that's going to be something that he is going to have to take into consideration. Directly behind him, it does look like Eric Smith and Justin Morton are swapping positions right now. Smith taking a leap out of Travis Warling's book and trying to roll the high side here in that number 32 Dog Bear Racing machine. As he works it there, he's going to carry a little bit more momentum onto the backstretch, and I dare say Eric Smith is able to get that position. Yes, he is. We now jump on board the 147, who seem to be involved in some of the action at all points of the day, as there you can see perfectly situated the number 90 starting to roll that high side as he works his way up high and gets a position there, Ian.
Yeah, the high side, like I said, is what you're going to have to do here. This conveyor belt from about first back on to 15th for the couple of laps here we've seen here. Is finally some cars are branching out, trying to get some track position here. Just under 100 laps left in this race, so drivers are starting to make their moves. There is still some time left, DJ, but you got to think the sense of urgency is starting to creep into these drivers here.
Yeah, it certainly is. When you see that lap counter tick up into the triple digits, I think that starts to mean that the pay window is going to open up a little bit for these drivers as they continue to go around and try to work their way forward. Warling just absolutely chucking that car into the corner, doing everything he could do, and there he is, back up into the lead of the race once again, and now he is just going to hope to kind of pull away here and maybe see if running down on that low side has helped him work things out, but it doesn't look like Nick Ottinger is going to be able to let that go quietly. He's going to hold on to the inside line, but there comes the 90 to roll it out more, Joey.
I've got to smile a little bit over here because the 90 was trying to do the right thing on the restart. He was trying to run the bottom groove, stay in line, but the best thing I can think of is he's like a golden retriever that sees all of his friends out there and he just wants to go take the lead, and he couldn't take it anymore. He had to get up there on the high side, and look at him, he rocketed all the way around to the lead as we got a battle for 10th on the racetrack. Yes, we do. Ozzie Milwain, Joey Haynes, Jason Wallet, Hutchison all back in this gaggle right now. It looks like Milwain and Hutchison currently the two of the drivers that are side by side right now, the 14 and the 33, trying to be able to see what they are able to get as we ride on board with Jeff Schmeier, who's in the popcorn position to this Noah's Ark formation that we see as they dive their way down into turn one right now. Schmeier holding on position here. He's got to be a little bit careful there in the number 30 because this is getting very, very close up in front of him. He doesn't want to have an incident take place right in front of him and have it collect him. We haven't talked about the big one here today, but certainly possible around a pretty quick intermediate oval like this.
This is a precarious spot to be in as a driver because you see these two cars battling side by side, and you see here maybe even possibly going 3 wide and kind of licking your chops saying, hey, I can get in there and sneak some quick positions away, but you kind of mentioned it, you do have to be careful with your DJ. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're right behind an incident where nowhere to go, and I think this is why you see him starting to play the second, third line there of the racetrack and just trying to get some clean air and maybe some clean racetrack to avoid the inevitable incident if it does happen.
Yeah, and he was able to gain one position there over the 114 of Jason Wall. It was Jeff Schmeier as they already worked their way around. Joey, you've been keeping an eye up at the 90 at the front of the field. Looks like they're already falling off the pace.
Yeah, he is definitely slowing down a little bit, but I think it's a combination of him trying to run the bottom and save the tires versus where he's been comfortable running his speed up top, and we're slowly seeing that number 25 of Nick Ottinger and the number 1 of Christian Challoner start to reel him back in, but he is starting to hang on to it a little bit more than what he has already in the race.
And he is doing a better job there at the gap distance. He actually was able to gain a little bit of time there on lap 135. The other thing that could throw a little bit of a wrench into the works here for Team Mega Racing is the dog bear entry of Eric Smith, the number 32. You can actually just see him looking out of that shot as he pokes his nose a little bit up to the high side here, trying to find where he is able to get a little bit of clean room. He's been able to separate that gap. Tom Abramaitis and Brenton Foster sitting right now in between them. Here we come down in the corner, taking a little bit of a later apex for Travis Warling. And you're keeping an eye here on this line, Joey. It looks like he is trying to save the tires here as Travis Warling.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to save the tires. He's being smart. You know, he's watching the competition, and I think he saw that everybody running the low line was able to blow by him after lap 15, but if he himself moves down there, he might be able to slow everybody up just in the air, in the dirty air that all of these cars are going to have to fight. He's not pulling off to the high line and letting them blow by on the bottom anymore.
Yeah, he's doing the right thing. We've got a little bit of a battle farther back in the pack there as that is Brian Halleck and Andrew Waring going at it. Waring down to the inside, Halleck up on the high side right now. Although, dare I say, Waring may find himself boxed in a little bit from Justin Morton right up in front of him. J-Mo has dropped down a little bit here. He runs in 8th place, but he's going to keep up that fight, and he may just be able to find a way to slot in here as he continues to work. We ride on board with the number 3 of all Sim Sports Machine as there you can see the momentum that is carried up on that high side there, Ian.
Yeah, well, we saw J-Mo earlier there. He was trying to get past that gaggle of teammates, and he couldn't quite do it. And I think he may have missed his window for those positions. We see how hard it is to pass here at Homestead once even just a few tires get on these, or I'm sorry, a few laps get on these tires. And you see here, he's on the outside line. That should be giving you the momentum, but side by side, a really good job of side drafting here right now. Just tough to get positions once these runs kind of get started.
And speaking of a little bit of side drafting and runs, we've got a battle for the lead of the race. Nick Ottinger back up into the lead right now, being able to make the move on Travis Warling. Christian Challoner, the latest driver to try to be able to move his way by the number 90. How many times have we seen this here today as they continue to work? It looks like carrying a little bit more speed there around the outside is the 90. But we've already talked about how those tires start to wear off a little bit, and they'll find himself falling back down through the order more and more. And it looks like Challoner is just about clear as they enter into turn 1. It'll be interesting to see here if Warling is able to keep that speed going. And now the big question is how's Eric Smith going to deal with it? Because there you can see the low line certainly pulling away. A little bit of a wiggle there for the number 90 coming off of the corner. I do think, Joey, that once again, those tires look a little bit cooked to me.
They do look a little bit worn. I was interesting to see what the 90 was going to do there entering turn 3, and he went back down to the bottom of the racetrack, but he continues to have a big-time loose issue in his race car. I think that's ultimately what's going to cost him his pace, as the number 32 of Eric Smith is going to poke his nose down here into turn 1. The 90, I think, is what we're going to see fall back through the field, as we've seen him do for all 3 stints already. But if you ask me, this is his best stint so far, as he's been able to hang up front for the longest, as we got 3 wide going into turn 3 here, DJ.
Not sure I like that with over 100 laps to go, and that's going to be a big checkup for Eric Smith. He had to prevent himself from drifting up the track into the side of Travis Warling. All 3 drivers are able to keep it going, but that is going to be the number 20 of Tom Abromaitis continuing this battle on. It looks like he's thinking about maybe trying to get out of it, and indeed, there he goes. Then the 90 is going to be able to roll speed. Now here comes Abromaitis down to the inside. They've got to be careful. They could be 3 wide again as they exit out of the corner. Somehow they're able to keep this going here, Ian. I don't know how.
Well, and I think that's a little bit of experience there on the outside line by Warling paying off there. You saw how confident he was going 3 wide with 2 other cars and being on the outside. That's a very scary and precarious spot to be in. If anybody makes a bobble below you, you have absolutely nowhere to go. Like you just saw right there, a little bit of a wiggle out of the 20. Foster's able to avoid here to the high side. Now he's going to have the run going into 1 and 2 here. And again, these drivers starting to get into the crunch time. You're starting to see more aggressive 2, 3 wide moves here, DJ.
Yeah, 2 to 3 wide moves for all of these drivers. It's going to be very, very tricky to see if they are able to keep everything out as they continue to run right now. Looking ahead here, we've got a little farther back down in the pack. This is the number 20 of Tom Abromaitis. Remember, we just saw him trying to throw those moves on. Well, now it's going to be Nathan Dowd that says thank you very much, and he'll take that position away as they work their way out of turn 4 right now, crossing over the start-finish stripe to work on lap number 144. And it looks like here coming up from behind, the number 3, Andrew Waring, certainly going to be trying to be involved in that battle as well. This has no signs of abating here at this point, Joey. I definitely think this is going to be a little bit of a constant fight.
You're right, the 90 had a big time loose coming out of turn 2 there, and the cars are starting to stack up behind him. But like I mentioned, this is definitely the best racing stint we've seen out of the 90 so far tonight. He's hanging on to the pace he's the most he's ever had, but right now, everybody is just kind of lined up to get by this number 90 of Travis Warling, as the next car up is the number 147 of Nathan Dowd. He's going to go down to the bottom as we're going to get 3 wide. This funnel is going to come in off of turn 2. Everybody actually plays really nicely, DJ, and I think they're going to be single file entering turn 3.
Well, it's at least going to be 2 wide there, as that's going to be Abromaitis and Warling. Warling just continuing to roll that high side like it's his job, and he's still carrying some relatively decent speed as they run. Looks like the number 3 going to be the latest to try to be able to put him a position down. That's going to be Andrew Waring trying to make the pass on Warling here as they go down to the corner. Again, the 90 just sending it in deep, absolutely chucking that car into the corners, but he's starting to lose time as the 3's going to have a nose ahead as they come out of the line, and it looks like here that now Waring is going to try to take a little bit of a look down to the inside of Abromaitis. That's not going to play itself out, as now the number 90 continues to work his way up on the high side, and we almost have a little bit of 3 wide with J-Mo sitting in the popcorn position here, Joey.
Yeah, the number 90 continues to charge it really deep into turn 3, but it negatively affects him coming down the front straightaway. But you're right, This is the number 147 of Nathan Dowd, Tom Abramitis, Travis Worling, and Andrew Warren all battling it out for 5th place position. We got 3 wide racing going through turns 1, and once again it's going to close up really tight off at turn 2, but they all make it work.
They all somehow make it work there at that point. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why, but somehow they certainly did do it. They're going to go 3 wide into the corner yet again here as they come off of the line, but the number 90 looking like they're losing a little bit of position here, and they're going to fall back into line. The number 3 of Andrew Waring looks like they're going to be side by side. Dowd has been able to hold out along as they go. Down into the corner here now. They're catching up to the back of Brenton Foster as, again, the number 90 just continuing to roll that high side. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They are holding position here at this point. They may not have the speed to be able to compete with the front of the field, but they are holding their own this far back in.
Well, I mean, we talked about it at the top of the broadcast, too. If you're really going to run that high side, you got to commit to it, and you got to set your car up for it. It looks like that's what the 90 has done so far. And we've touched about it all day long. We've seen this trend where he goes all the way up to the front, and then trails and falls all the way back through the pack here. And right now doing a better job of holding his position, maybe a little bit of adjustment on pit road last time by, but this stint here that we've seen him for has just been great side-by-side racing all the way through the pack, and he made a move to the inside there position too here, so maybe opened up something on that 90 machine.
Yeah, certainly has, but it looks like maybe a little bit of a crossover here coming from the number 3 of Andrew Waring as he now dives down to the inside. May have to check his momentum up very slightly, courtesy of Tom Abramitis there directly in front of him, but I don't think he is, and indeed I think that number 3 is going to be able to slide up into position and officially take that away there from him. So that's going to be a good run there for the number 3. Now it's going to be the 147 that's looking to get a little bit of action here as we focus on the number 14. That is Ozzie Milwane. This is back down in the battle for 9th place position. Nathan Dowd has been shuffled down here in the field here at this point. He finds himself in 10th trying to cling on, and he's got to watch out because that's a very hungry Brian Halleck there behind him as well, Joey.
Yeah, those are a few names that we haven't mentioned too much tonight. Nathan Dowd back there in 10th place. 11th place is Brian Halleck in the number 21 machine. This battle is continuing to get a little choked up from that number 90 car, losing the pace up there in front of these cars, and it just continues to let them by on the bottom side as once again it looks like the number 9 goes by down underneath, and then maybe it's the number 14 that's lined up next, but Travis is having a tough time on the long run pace out there as we see, yeah, the number 14, the green car with the red wheels, is going to be lining them up out of turn 4. DJ, something I'm noticing with all of the cars, turn 4 continues to be a choke point, whether you're running up top, running down low, the cars seem to get loose no matter where you are, and you got to be careful and not overstep your limit.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful about that. And strangely, of the 3 incidents that we've had, we've only seen 1 incident there. That last one for Jonathan Medeiros was the one that fired off at turn 4. That's where we've seen the most problems, is that was the number 90 getting all kinds of squirrely, almost there up into the up into the wall there as they ran around. We are over the halfway point here in this race, by the way, working on lap 153 of 267, nearing the 100 to go mark, is now side by side. It plays out between Travis Worling and Ozzie Milwane. And I've got to think here that Worling is he's hemorrhaging positions. He's just losing time and time again. And I think he has just got to hope for the right gamble here, the right strategy call, that we get a yellow flag with about 10, 15 laps to go. And that looks like it's going to be the only way he's going to be able to keep himself up forward.
Well, I will say I do respect the commitment to that strategy, but I think you're absolutely right, DJ. They're set up for a run of about 15 to 20 laps, maybe 10, like you said, coming to the checkered flag, and they don't need any kind of interruptions. I think even if they get into a situation like we talked about earlier, we get to a green-white checker, I think they're golden if they find themselves in the top 5, top 8, maybe. But right now, if this goes like a long run all the way to green, all the way to the checkered flag, they're going to be in a lot of problems for sure. They'll probably find themselves around 15th, 16th position.
Well, speaking of those pit stops, we are on lap 36 of this stint. The longest we have gone is 56 laps, and it was about that point that we were starting to speculate that we may see a little bit of drivers having to come into the pits. We do focusing on Andrew Waring as he tries to move to the inside right now of Tom Abramitis. Abramitis going to try to roll the high side, but I think there may have been a little bit of a lift there out of Abramitis, just letting him go on there as he lets himself on through. And that's going to open up here a little bit of clean air for Andrew Waring. He's got about 1.2 seconds to be able to close back down on Brenton Foster to try to move his way up forward here a little bit more. But we'll have to see how that plays out for the number 3 here at this point. 156, almost 157 laps we are working on here of 267 as we continue to circulate around here in the Majors Championship weekend races at Homestead Miami Speedway. And there is your leaders right now, Nick Ottinger and Christian Challoner. And Ian, they just look to be the class of the field here, particularly in that long run pace.
Oh, absolutely. Really nothing's changed since the drop of the green flag for these two as well. They just continue to be content being 1 and 2 with Nick Ottinger and Christian Challoner here. And Challoner has already wrapped up the season-long championship in his division here, so just looking to go out in this season on a high note here. But I don't know if he has enough for Nick Ottinger here, unless maybe Challoner is saving here on this final run. But you mentioned it, Ottinger's definitely been the class of the field, and I would say maybe throw Worling in there as well. We've seen him consistently get into the front, DJ, and that's got to stand for something here over the course of 267 laps.
Yeah, most certainly. As we did check back in there, as that was a battle that was continuing on there between Dowd and Worling, and it looked like Worling just finally fell off the back there, but he's got a little bit more that he's going to have to deal with here as Brian Halleck is now coming up behind him, as well as the number 17 of Wayne Hutchison as they continue to work their way through. We watch the number 90 just riding that high side as it now looks like Halleck is going to be the one to look down to the inside. Is he going to be able to roll enough speed? Doesn't look like on this lap, but certainly trying to be able to get as much as possible, just hugging that white side line as we've got the number 58 coming down into pit lane here. This is Justin Kirby. Joey, I can't for the life of me figure out why he would be coming in and out of pit lane here at this point, unless he's maybe counting backwards and decided to take a little bit of a strategic gamble.
I think that this is a strategy call. You nailed it. It looks like 4 tires and fuel out of the number 58 of Justin Kirby. He immediately moves up to the top side. He's going to have a rocket ship of a race car out there right now. And what this is traditional of is a road racing strategy where you count backwards from the end of the race. Now, he probably is going to have to stop one more time, but he's going to be the first car that's going to be ready to go on fuel. And we'll see if the strategy plays out, if he's able to leapfrog anybody on these fresh tires.
Yeah, that's going to be the one thing to keep in mind here. He does find himself a lap down at this point, does Justin Kirby, and but you can see there he is passing drivers like they are standing still here at this point with the courtesy of that fresh rubber. Again, he came in on the pit stop here on about a 39 lap stint. That is when he decided to come on into pit lane and get that fresh set of boots on the car. And I've got to think here for him, is 33.8 on the last lap, as you were saying, Joey, and the leaders, they're only doing a 35.1.
Yeah, huge chunks of time this number 58 car on screen is picking up. You mentioned it, he might be a lap down right now, but he is just driving by the entire field, and what this might set off is the dominoes of other people seeing, oh my gosh, you see how fast this 58 car is on fresh new tires? I want a little piece of that. Maybe give me a bit of that steak, DJ.
That could be what we see here. Could we see the first round of true green flag stops fire off? We will have to tell. But right now, we keep our eyes focused on the battle for P4 right now. Brenton Foster leading ahead of Andrew Waring. And I want to give some credit here to Andrew Waring. We've really seen him just be solid and consistent over the course of this race. He hasn't been too aggressive. He hasn't been poking his nose this way or that, but he has just been where he needs to be when he needs to be, and now muscling down to the inside of the 23.
No, you mentioned it. We haven't really talked about him about leading the race so far, but he's getting that top 5, top 10 all night long, and that has to say something over the course of 163 laps here tonight with all that we've seen so far from Homestead Miami. And you mentioned it. He hasn't been afraid to poke his nose in deep here, right down to the bottom of the racetrack, and it's almost cost him a few times, but right now, so far, so good for that 3 camp.
Yeah, looking good. They're going to poke their nose down to the inside yet again as they are able to go. And it certainly seems like there that Foster looking a little bit loose there in the number 23. That you were just calling that one out there, Joey.
Yeah, definitely. He looks like a little bit on top of the racetrack, as we call it. The race car doesn't look like it's in the groove right now, and as we see that number 3 car of Andrew Waring just make the move down the inside of Brenton Foster here, and he's going to continue to drive away. You mentioned it, that number 3 car has shown really good speed. We saw him up there battling it out for the lead earlier in the second stint, I believe, but here in this longer run, he's starting to charge his way back up towards the front, and he's actually running lap times that are comparable to the leader. 33.58 from the number 3 car, 33.59 from our leader out of the number 25.
Yes, there it is, certainly starting to close in as much as possible. We watch that machine working its way around. Some really impressive stuff to be able to see that. Little bit of a check up there. Whoa, that was close there, Ian.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was going to be an incident coming off of 4 there, and it was 3 wide for just a second going down the backstretch. But I think everybody there in that pack was taking a collective breath there and just making sure that goes over okay. That could have been detrimental to not only 3 cars there, that might have got more of the field too as well, DJ.
Yeah, that could have been the big one that we certainly have been sort of hinting at over the course of the running here today. But we keep our eyes right now on Justin Kirby, continuing to work his way around. He still has a little bit of time to make up on the leader to be able to get his lap back. There's about 6 cars in between himself and the leader, but there is your lap comparison. On that last lap, Joey, a full second faster. That just goes to show you what the power of the new tires truly is.
Yeah, and you know what? These tires aren't even that new anymore. He came in, about 5-6 laps ago. So these 8 laps ago is what I'm hearing. And so these things aren't even brand new anymore. And he is still continuing to smoke the field out there as he just drives by cars on the outside. As it looks like we got a car up in front of us. Kinchlow up into the wall once again. He's had some adventures with that green wall out there.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's gotten a little bit squirrely with it before, and hopefully he'll be able to lock that car down. We are working on lap 49 of this green flag stint right now as Kinchlow looking very, very squirrely there off of the exit of turn 4. We are under 100 laps to go here at this point. And there you can see the 58 just absolutely driving by like he was standing still. We ride on board with Kinchlow. Remember, over the course of that first stint, he really and truly looked like he was playing footsie with the wall there up on the outside. But now it looks like he's able to at least recover. The 58 continuing to work his way back through the field right now. I believe that is one of the cars getting able to be by Kinchlow. Kinchlow continuing to run up high there against that outside position, just trying to see what he is able to get out of the car here again.
Yeah, and the only saving grace, I think, for this next-gen car for Kinchlow's sake right now is that those taps to the wall, maybe not as many as we saw them take earlier, but I think it's okay to take a few of those to the outside wall, especially if they're just grazing blows. Not a lot of contact there, but you can kind of see here the later we go into the run, kind of falling back farther and farther, and you make any of those mistakes that we saw there, kind of a slip up where you have to chase the car, you really got to minimize those because everybody else is doing the best they can to just maintain that momentum and maximize their speed around this racetrack.
Yeah, and that's really the point here at this point is just maximizing that momentum. And one driver who has done that to an absolute T and to perfect perfection here, Nick Ottinger and Christian Challoner and Andrew Waring up at the front of the field. They continue to pull away here. Ottinger and Challoner in particular. Waring starting to be closed down a little bit by Eric Smith. We'll have to keep an eye on how that car does. The number 1 machine holding on to second place position here at this point, just doing an absolute gem of a drive. We'll have to see if he gets a little bit closed down on farther on in the race, but that's still to be decided. As we've got another taker down into pit lane. It looks like this is going to be Brian Barnes. I'm also seeing Brent Kirby exiting out of the pits here, Joey.
Definitely Brian Barnes currently in his box. You called it. Brent Kirby also coming for the stop. I'm going to be really curious how the Justin Kirby strategy plays out because I don't have the exact fuel numbers in front of me, but he looks to have passed Christian Challoner for the second place. Now, I know that the 58 is a lap down. We also have our leader now, the number 25, Nick Ottinger, coming down into pit road, DJ.
Oh, that's going to be interesting there as the Mega Racing Team driver pulls it down into the pits. I've got to think that we're going to see Challoner probably relatively soon as well with Foster, and I would hazard a guess that Abramitis already is in out of pit lane. Here comes Challoner, really hauling the mail down into the pit stop. He's going to get everything wound up in under speed there as he dives down into the pits. And yellow on the racetrack. It's Brenton Foster spinning.
Oh my goodness, did the same thing happen again, Joey?
I think the same thing happened again, Mr. Genie over there. I see the number 23 turned around, exiting turn 4. And Ian, you called it last time. It is so tricky getting onto pit road here.
Well, that transition to the banking is just so tough. And what I think I'm seeing here, Joey, and let's see if it's the same thing. Here's the issue that these drivers are having getting onto pit road is you see how they're taking their time with the transition. They're dipping 2 tires down and then riding that for a little bit. You have to be aggressive. You really got to dive down onto that flat part of the racetrack, or else you're going to spin the car like we've seen 2 times here tonight, TJ.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And there you can see the car just high-siding itself, basically bottoming out on the circuit, and that's going to be enough to spin him around. Now, the question's going to be here for the drivers that did come down into pit lane. I do believe Challoner was safe because he had already crossed over the commitment line before that fired off, but this could be a little bit of a blow here to Andrew Waring, potentially, who's going to have to come down into pit lane. We're going to have to see how everything shakes itself out. I can tell you that Challoner is ahead of Ottinger on the racetrack right now. So, Ian, that is a change that we've seen as a course of these pit stop cycles.
Yeah, and that's really just the terrifying thing about green flag stops, especially now that some of these drivers have pit, some of them haven't pit. It's really going to mix up the tire combinations, the strategies that we're going to see here for the rest of these laps here tonight. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Challenger is going to be okay and out there at the front with fresh tires, but the rest of these drivers, I don't know. Do you take 2? Do you go all the way here? What do you do for the rest of the race, DJ?
Well, I'll tell you something here. The number 58 decided to stay out there. Remember how much time Justin Kirby was able to gain, and Joey, you were just saying that may be a little bit of a rough strategy. They could be in for a real world of hurt here.
Yeah, you use those fresh tires to gain all of that track position on the racetrack, and he's up to the 3rd place right now, but that means he's going to be doing this restart on used tires while all of these cars behind him have those fresh brand new tires, as it looks like actually the 58 is going to make his way down to pit road. I don't know if he was a lap down there. I could have sworn that the number 25 had come down onto pit road and he had already passed the number 1 car of Christian Challoner. I wonder if this is another strategy call.
Yeah, I wonder if it is as well. I mean, seeing that nobody else decided to take that gamble and come out, I wouldn't blame him for coming down into the pits here at this point. And he does look like he is going to take a full set of fuel there and a fresh set of tires. So that's going to bring him on and out. Challoner will lead the race, followed by Ottinger, Waring, Eric Smith, and then Justin Morton again. Justin Morton, that pit crew in the number 9, just doing a fantastic job here for them. They really and truly have done a great job, Ian, and it seems like every single pit stop that we have, that number 9 machine puts themselves right back into contention.
No, you kind of mentioned it. It seems like every time we go back to a restart, Justin Morton signs himself around that top 5 position. And the real thing, DJ, is he hasn't really been able to take advantage of it yet. He's always been caught behind either teammates or drivers battling for those positions up front, but really good patience by him so far. Just keeps himself in the conversation here as we get down into the final laps of this race. And that's really all you can ask for in a long race like this, DJ.
Yeah, that's what you've got to be able to do, and just put yourself into a position to be in the catbird seat when push comes to shove. You've got to be very, very careful and hopefully be able to hold on as much as possible for these drivers. It does look like we're going to start to form our way back up here as the cars are getting wave arounds here at this point. So that does mean, by my calculations, that we will be going back to green flag racing here in just a few moments' time. As they get themselves back around here, will be restarted on lap 177. So that means about 90 laps to go here from Homestead, Miami. Ooh, here we go. This is going to be the pullout here for all of these drivers, as we're going to have to see the pay window starting to open up for these drivers, starting to certainly be open and be ready to be calculated on here for everybody in the field. The number 1 of Christian Challoner, leading us to the green. His teammate Nick Ottinger there to the outside. Andrew Waring and Eric Smith for Evolve and Dog Bear behind them. And they are not going to have that full fleet of Mega Racing Team drivers around them. That could hurt them just a little bit, as here they come. Getting ready to pull down pit lane is the iRacing pace car. There it goes. Challoner now has control of the field as they work their way into the restart zone. And there goes the green flag. And that is going to be pretty much formation flying from everything that we have seen here today. Challoner going to pull ahead. I've got to guarantee you that Ottinger is going to pull in right behind them. Side-by-side racing between Waring and Eric Smith, Joey, and the rest of the field pretty much 2x2 through the rest of the field.
Yeah, we see the 32 really working the middle groove on the racetrack as the entire field accelerates up to speed, but 32 of Eric Smith, I think of him a little bit as a wild card, as actually we got the number 25 diving it down to the inside of the racetrack through turn 3. He's going to take the lead away from Christian Challoner. No report back there. I thought maybe a little bit of an over-under out of the one, but he just lets the number 25 take the lead.
Yeah, maybe that's a little bit of strategy call there for them. We'll have to see what happens. And look, to the surprise of no one, there is the number 90, Travis Warling, working that high side yet again. How far up ahead is he going to be able to push here? Is he going to be able to get back up into the lead? It certainly looks like he's going to get a little bit of close running there with Andrew Waring and Justin Morton. 3 wide, Ian.
3 wide, but we know how confident his Warling is on the outside there, and he's able to make it stick and almost makes the pass before he exits turn 4 there. I mean, that's close, but these are the moves you're going to see here with now 89 laps to go here in this race. And if you're Warling, you got to get to the front again, and you got to just hold it. That's all you can do at this point. DJ, your car is set up to do that. You really don't have very many other options. And if it isn't broke, like you said earlier, don't fix it at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep running the strategy that's been able to bring yourself up and forward and try to see what they are able to do. We do have a little bit of side-by-side, a little bit farther back down in the field. That's going to be the number 23 there up. Brenton Foster, Kevin Hill trying to be able to get a move done on him. That's going to be Jason Wallet directly up ahead of them. Side-by-side, a little bit farther up into the field as they run right now. I believe that's going to be the number 17 of Wayne Hutchinson and Jeff Schmeier. Schmeier's going to fall back into line, blocking off a little bit of the attack there from the number 114 of Jason Wallet. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, there he goes, Joey. That is going to be Travis Warling up and into P2.
Yeah, the number 90 finding himself back up at the front of the field, up into second place. Next car on the list is the number 25 of Nick Ottinger. We've seen the 25 and the 1 really dominate on the long runs. We've seen this number 90 dominate on the short runs, and it continues to kind of be the same script throughout the entire night. As the number 90 continues to ride the momentum on the high line, he makes chunks of time here in turn 3 as we're going to see him dive it down into turn 3. Big run out of the 90, and he's going to clear the 25 before they even reach turn 4.
And crucially, that is done in just a couple of laps' time, which means he is hopefully going to be able to grow that gap as much as possible before those tires start to fall off a little bit and save himself time as much as possible. He didn't dilly-dally around like we saw him last time, thinking about running down on the low line. He most certainly just put the pedal to the metal and kept it going there around the outside. We've got a couple of drivers a little farther back in the field thinking about doing the same thing. We ride on board here with the number 58 of Justin Kirby. Remember, this is the driver that was on the alternate strategy. Luckily here for Kirby, he does find himself back on the lead lap in 12th place position and working his way forward here a little bit, Ian.
Yeah, and really so far, I think if you're one of these drivers that's back to the pack here, but it hasn't been up front here so far, DJ, you got to go off strategy a little bit to find your way up there, and that's what we're seeing so far right now. And another thing too, going back to the leader Warling, he hasn't been up front early. We've talked about that so much, is that he really needs to get up there as fast as he possibly can and get that lead up to the big of a gap as he can early in a run, and he hasn't been able to do that. So he has done it now, and he's able to avoid this kind of cacophony of cars that we see here, 2 wide all the way from about 6 on back.
Yeah, very much so. That's Brenton Foster and the number 30 of Jeff Schmeier leading the way right now. The number 33 of Joey Haynes down to the inside. That 58 of Justin Kirby that we talked about trying to run the high line there a little bit. They're going to funnel themselves onto the backstretch. That got a little bit hairy there, but drivers keeping themselves well-mannered here at this point in the race. A little bit of Noah's Ark coming down into the corner. The 44 there. Like who's caught up a little bit. That's Lynn Kinchlow. Kinchlow is a lap down here at this point, so he is not a horse in this race necessarily, as they now sort themselves out back into single file order. But again, continuing to move here. We are certainly seeing this pay window open, Joey. I think drivers know the time is starting to run out.
You're right, and I'm pretty impressed with the number 58 of Justin Kirby. If we remember, he was really hanging out around the P17, P18 place, but that early pit stop promoted him up a little bit. Now he's battling it out with Brenton Foster right now for the 11th place position, and I think the 58 car has found his home right in the middle of the racetrack. That's where he's found his speed, and he actually tags the wall up out of 4.
Oh, big contact there with the wall coming out of 4. Very lucky boy that he was able to hold on to that and be able to keep it pointed the right way, but he's going to keep running up on the high side. Kinchlow behind him certainly had to check up a big amount there coming down through the corner, so very lucky that they were able to do that. There you see the 58 still able to carry enough momentum to be able to get by Tom Abramitis. Ian, I'm not sure how he's able to do that.
No, really, carrying the momentum is crazy, especially getting into the wall like that. We mentioned earlier that grazing the wall is one thing. Slamming into that is quite another thing here. I don't really know how that momentum was able to be carried with that much damage to the right side of that car, but good on him for able to hold on to the position and really fighting back here on the outside line.
Yeah, and certainly fighting back there, but it doesn't necessarily look like Abramitis is willing to let that position go anytime soon. He's going to continue to trade spots there with Justin Kirby. Kirby's going to try to pull ahead here a little bit, coming down into 3 and 4 as they work their way through the corner right now, rolling that high line. He's not running nearly as high as we've seen Travis Warling run up at the front of the field, but he's still running a pretty good and consistent high line that's keeping this 2-wide battle going, and it's starting to maybe bottle up here Nathan Dowd, who certainly has fallen back down through the order here a little bit, Ian.
Yeah, and Dowd's been kind of up and down so far in this race. We've seen him kind of take some moves towards the front. We've seen him get into a little bit of trouble. Now finds himself there in the 15th position with the 58 of Kirby there on his outside, and he's starting to fall back just a little bit, at least in this run. I don't know if he made any changes last time down pit road, but you do see him there gaining back a little bit there on the outside, but I just don't think he's been able to find a spot on the racetrack right now that he's been comfortable with, that he could really just kind of make a charge at and click down some laps.
Yeah, and look at that. I mean, he was just very, very stealthily overtaken there by the number 58. We follow the battle right up now for P10 or for P8 right now, as this is going to be Halleck, Hutchison, Wallet, Schmeier, and Brenton Foster really running in a pretty much single file train here at this point. Want to give some good credit here to Jason Wallet. This is one of the better runs we've seen out of the 114 all season long. He is really coming into his own here at Homestead Miami Speedway with 78 laps to go here on the clock, Joey.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually seeing a few more names move up towards the front. One of them specifically being the 21 of Brian Halleck, as, yeah, this is the closest battle on the racetrack with Hutchinson, Wallet, Schmeier, Foster, but some of these names that we saw running up front earlier, Tom Abramitis all the way back to 13th, Brenton Foster back in 11th, those were guys that were battling it out for the lead, and it's really promoted the likes of the 32 of Eric Smith and the 3 of Andrew Waring. These other cars like the 21 of Brian Halleck, and like you said, it's getting to be punch time, and these cars are starting to work the way towards the front.
Yeah, we're seeing the cream rise to the top here as we focus in on the battle between Brenton Foster and Jeff Schmeier. That's also the 33 of Joey Haynes that's getting involved in that, as well as the number 30 had to wash up the track just a little bit as they ran the 33 now, though, trying to see if he's going to be able to get a run down to the inside. We ride on toward the hood here of that green and white machine as, whoa, almost contact there. That almost ended terribly for Schmeier and Haynes, but somehow they were able to keep it all together, Ian.
Yeah, and I think the 33, those teammates there, they're set up to run the bottom side so far, DJ, because you see how aggressive they are to get down to the white by the white line of that racetrack now, running about a half lane up, but we've seen that a few times here where they get down to the bottom and they almost make contact there with the quarter panel of another vehicle. And I mean, I kind of understand it. You want to get to the spot where you know your race car is going to work the most effectively, roll the corner the most effectively, especially in these next-gen machines. But it sometimes puts you in precarious positions like we saw there.
Well, and you've been keeping an eye at the front of the field here, Joey. It looks like that fall-off point is starting to come into play for Travis Warling.
Yeah, the number 90 is officially hitting that cliff right now. He still does have a 1-second gap over the number 25 car of Nick Ottinger, but last lap time, 34.28. Nick Ottinger, 33.9. So he's once again starting to take those chunks of time out of that number 90 car, which is our leader.
Well, and this is the same story, just on a different lap that we have seen. That gap was up at about 1.3 seconds, but there you see as they cross over the line, it continues to fall 0.3 of a second, 0.1 of a second on that last lap. Definitely starting to go in, and at about 15 laps in, that is where we have seen that fall off happen time and time again here for these drivers, and particularly for the number 90. We focus in right now on Brenton Foster and Jason Wallet. Wallet in 10th place position, trying to close down on the number 23 to see if there's any movement here. Wallet looks like he's running about a half a lane up higher than the number 23 here at this point. Lost a little bit of time there on that last run through 3 and 4 here. Is that going to be contact with the wall? If it wasn't, that was as close as could be.
No, and I think he barely was able to stay off of the wall there coming off of 4 because he didn't really have much of a slowdown there going down the front straightaway, but you're going to see that more and more here. These tires are starting to wear out as we get farther into this run, and we kind of mentioned it, DJ, that track temperature has been increasing as this race goes on, and I feel it's going to get higher and higher, and these drivers, they've been in the cockpit for a long time now. 73 laps to go in this race. You're starting to get a little bit mentally tired as well, and it's easy to make mistakes this long in a run.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, you're talking about running the same circuit for, at this point, just over 2 hours of a lead. As up at the front of the field, here it is Nick Ottinger able to make the pass, Joey.
Yeah, Nick Ottinger just slowly hunted down that number 90 car like we've seen all night. And next up is the number 1 of Christian Challoner. He's got the number 90 in his crosshairs. And once again, these cars continue to run the lower line, have the better long run life as we see the stint goes on. And the number 90 that runs up top of the wall has tremendous short run speed, but really about 15 laps is the crossover. And by lap 20, he has lost the lead.
Yeah, and there he goes. Challoner able to put him down into 3rd place. Now a little bit of breathing room, call it about 0.7 of a second between Warling and Mooring as they come off of turn 2 and work their way down the backstretch. 70 laps to go. We do anticipate that there will need to at least be one more pit stop for these drivers, as the longest stint we have seen out on track is 56 laps. So that is going to be the magic marker that these drivers are going to need to get to. As there you can see everybody thundering their way on by the main straightaway right now, starting to fan themselves out a little bit more. We are seeing a little bit more calmness over the course of the entire field here at this point. This is one of our closest battles that we have for 11th place right now. Jason Wallet leading from Joey Haynes, Jeff Schmeier, and Nathan Dowd involved in this conversation as well. Ozzie Milwane also holding on to the back here. So really a 5-car fight that we have right now. And all of these drivers running in single file order here, Joey. And I think that's probably the strategy that I would think about doing. Try to save my stuff. I know the numbers that I need to hit. If I'm able to just hold on to everything here for the next 30 laps or so, then you really go for broke in that last stint.
I agree. You want to save your best racing for the end. As again, the number 114 of Jason Wallet is having a great run right now. He's up in the 11th position. We were riding on board the number 33 of Joey Haynes, which was really hounding him, but up front, that's the number 3 of Andrew Waring continuing to lay down passes. He passed the number 32 car of Eric Smith a couple laps ago. Now he's making his way by the number 90 of Travis Warling. That's number 90 is continuing to fall, but this number 3 car, we saw him a little bit further back, 5th, 6th place. The last stint, he was up towards the front earlier in the race, and here he is showing that speed again later in the race with only 68 laps to go, coming into prime form.
Yeah, and we've certainly seen the long-run pace be able to play itself out for these drivers here, and particularly the number 3 of Andrew Waring. He has just continually had that good long-run pace. The next driver to be able to get by Warling here does look to be Eric Smith, down to the inside, as Warling's going to find himself probably in just a few corners' time back down into 5th position here as they work their way around through the corner right now. They're also trying to pull up that battle as we're going to jump back here further in the pack as it does look like Jason Wallet continuing to hold on to 12th place right now, but Schmeier is starting to apply some pressure.
And it shows how much these guys really just love to race for position here and like compete with each other. I mean, some of these positions for this championship are all but sealed up, and This is a battle here for about the 15th position. You're on board with Nathan Dowd right now, and these guys are still giving it all they possibly can, even with 66 laps to go in this race. Like, this doesn't really mean anything to any of these guys right now. The championship's all but locked up, but still here, a fierce battle for about the 11th to 15th position here.
Yeah, a very, very fierce battle that continues to rage itself on. We ride on board now with Ozzy Milwane, who is the boost on this train. Down into the corner, trying to be able to get by the Dog Bear Racing Machine up ahead of him. Milwane looking to the inside of Schmeier as Schmeier drifts up the track a little bit. Maybe it's a result of some of that dirty air. He's going to be able to pull alongside right now as they work their way across the stripe. 65 laps to go here at Miami Homestead, and I think there that the number 14 is going to have that position locked in, Joey.
Yeah, it looks like Milwane gets up around there, and it's still Schmeier, Hill, and Dowd actually for a 4-car battle. They actually went into turn 1 2x2 there for the 14th spot, as it looks like Ozzy Milwane continues this battle down into turn 3. Looks like he's going to have the inside and eventually take away that position from the 52 of Kevin Hill.
Yeah, I think he's finally going to get it done and dusted there. Very, very good stuff, as it looks like that number 14 is able to hold on to that position. As there we see just this continuing changing of the guard here, swapping and swapping places as they run. We ride on board the hood here of Kevin Hill, 14th place in the number 52, trying to see if he's going to have anything for Jason Wallet here. Again, Wallet having an absolutely fantastic run on the day, just trying to see if he's going to be able to close in, maybe secure a top 10. I can't remember the last time that Jason did have a top 10, so certainly will at this point, I think, be one of the highest results I have seen since my time in covering the majors here. Right now, the 114 of Jason Wallet trying to close down on Kevin Hill. This battle continuing to just percolate as it looks like he is dropping behind here at this point. Maybe deciding to save the tires a little bit at this stage in the race, not wanting to risk too much.
Tire wear is
going to become... And at this point...
Go ahead, Ian.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, at this point, we're getting to the point, Joey, where these drivers are one of the longest green flag stints that we've seen so far. And like we touched on earlier, it's been a long road. It's been a long time to get to this point of the race. And we're starting to see some green flag stops here. And yeah, it's the point now we're going to have drivers coming down and getting some green flag runs here.
And that is Christian Challoner coming. Whoa! He is gone. There's been a disconnection. There has been a disconnection for Christian Challoner. He is gone. My goodness gracious, Joey, we have a disconnect here from your reigning champion.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened, if it was maybe just an internet outage, but that's Christian Challoner officially out of the race. That totally changes the script up front, as he was the only car to really battle it out with Nick Ottinger on the long run.
And we just got word from Christian that he had a power outage, and that is what caused it to happen. My goodness gracious, Christian Challoner here with a power outage that has taken him out of contention for the race. Let it never be said that SimRacing doesn't throw a curveball at you here, Ian. My goodness.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's playing along with our GSRC bingo at home, but I don't think anybody had a running out or losing power here with 60 laps to go on their bingo card. So Challenger already sewed up the championship. It's his already, but you got to think this was another win that he could have added to his resume. So that's disappointing there that he had that technical issue this far in the race.
Yeah, every driver wants to win. If you're going to win the championship, you want to be able to win that championship on a win out on the track. Absolutely heartbreaking for the driver of the number 1. Oh, I cannot believe it. I just cannot believe it for Christian. That is so tough to be able to see. But we still have 59 laps of this race left to run here at this point. We have seen a couple of drivers come down into pit lane. Joey, thinking maybe the pit window may be open here at this point.
You know, I think it might be a little bit of a stretch for the pit window to be open, but we've seen some alternate strategy out of a few different cars already this race, and I wouldn't count my chickens just yet. You know, the only way to win a race is to do something different. You can't follow the leader the whole time.
Yeah, and you've got to be certainly even as they go. And oh my goodness, I still just can't believe that Christian was out of this race, although he is feeding us some information on strategy. So that'll be certainly helpful to be able to get us forward. As we follow right now, this is Tom Abramitis working down to the inside here. That's Travis Warling ahead of him. You know, Ian, I've got to give credit here to Warling. We've seen him fall down the order much more in previous stints. It looks like he's been able to lock down just a little bit of that speed lead away here at this point.
Well, that's not too surprising with me because he's had, what, 4 or 5 shots here now at the same exact strategy. So I think they've got a good car that gets to the front of the pack. It's just hanging on to it once they get there. And I think they're making small adjustments every time they come down pit road. And you're starting to see some of those pay off, DJ.
Yeah, I think they are as well. And of course, as I say that, Abramitis does send a move down to the inside to be able to try to get on by him. And hearing here in my ear that he's just a little bit tight, tied in, loose off of the corner there for Warling. So, Joey, that car doing better, but still under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, we like to call it pushy loose, but generally what I've seen out of the 90 car is a general loose condition, but when you try to back up the entry so much, you actually induce a little bit of understeer, and then you've got so much wheel cranked into this thing that when it finally starts to turn, all of a sudden it comes way out on you and it's loose, and it is just a handful out there right now for the number 98 as he continues to just wag the tail on these corner exits.
Yeah, and he's starting to lose some time here. Also, Brenton Foster in P5 directly up ahead of him, also looking a little bit loose as well in the number 23. Foster trying to close down on J-Mo directly up ahead of him. That gap is about 5 car lengths here as they run. Trying to see what they are able to do, tucking back into the draft here, and looking like Foster here at this point. Maybe that long run pace here for the Team Mega Cars, Ian, starting to come back into play. We talked about it early on. Then we saw particularly Abramitis and Foster fall back down through the field, but it looks like whatever was going on in that middle stint, it is washed away here at this point.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it with other drivers as well. Everybody's had a chance to come down pit road about 4 or 5 times and make some adjustments. We've seen these guys up at the front of the pack all night long, and they're just starting to fine-tune that setup in just more and more, and I think they have the advantage here because we've seen more long runs than short runs so far in this race. So advantage to them so far in their camp with the setup that they have. A little bit better now than what Warling has maybe on the short run, but I think when we get down to it and when push comes to shove with about 10 to 15 laps left, DJ, we're gonna see that late caution, and I think that's where Warling's gonna shine.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Is Warling here and Brian Halleck going side by side. Halleck going to be able to put that car a lap down. And Joey, you were noticing we've had a couple of takers down on pit lane.
Yeah, we're starting to see a few of the kind of mid-pack cars further in the back starting to gamble a little bit with the pit strategy as we continue to watch this number 90 car battle it out with Brian Halleck. You're right, DJ. This is the best that the 90 car has hung out all night. It seems like he's learned a little bit each stint and has applied that, and slowly but surely still hanging on to this front pack. But I'm noticing a 35.5 last lap time. Compare that to the number 25, our leader, of a 35.1. He still has fallen off quite a bit.
Yeah, still definitely falling off the pace here as they run around. But we keep our eyes here on Tom Abramitis. Continues to try to push his way forward. This has been a good run here for Abramitis. He's up to 5th place. He was certainly farther down the order than he was, farther up the order than he was on that last stint. Again, those Mega Team Racing drivers really pushing their way up forward, trying to see what they are able to do. That is Justin Morton directly up ahead of him. Call that about 2 car lengths, the gap in between the two as they continue to close. Here we take a look out the back of the number 9 machine right now with we tick closer to 50 laps to go here in this race. That is right, 50 laps to go. And it looks like we've got another driver coming down into pit lane. I believe that is Brent Kirby there, Joey.
Yeah, I think Brent Kirby is just getting back up to speed exiting pit lane, but that's one more car that's deciding to come down pit lane, and it looks like we've got the number 25, our leader, that is Nick Ottinger, making his way down pit road right now. He's claimed that top spot down here at the final pit stall. He's just got to get it stopped nice and smooth, make sure he doesn't overshoot the marks, which he does. Probably going to take 4 fresh tires, fuel, and get back out there on the racetrack as we got more cars entering pit road.
Yeah, it looks like Nathan Dowd, Nick Kuhn, and Ray Partridge. Our Partridge has some damage that he's getting repaired, so that one does not count. But now Andrew Waring also coming in. Eric Smith also coming in. It looks like here, Ian, that everybody is responding to what the leader has done.
Yeah, Waring comes in. I'm surprised to see here. I'm not surprised to see. I'm interested to see what Waring will do here with this stretch of green flag runs. Will he come in early and try to just get the pit stop over with, or will he wait for as long as he can and tries to see if he can take advantage of a yellow coming out? Really, this probably is going to be the money stop, DJ. I think they can make it after this stop from here. So very important for these drivers to get that last adjustment right and go in and give themselves a car that really gives them a shot here to compete with 50 laps to go.
Wow, and a little bit of a wiggle there for Tom Abromaitis coming down into pit lane. We almost had an incident like we did last time around there for the number 20 Mega Racing Team driver, but he's luckily able to keep everything pointed the right way. Brenton Foster avoids the same problem that we saw, as well as pretty much the entirety of the field coming down into pit lane. Looks like Justin Morton, Brian Halleck, Travis Warnling, and Jason Wallet, the ones that are trying to stay out here. Brian McGreevy as well. Joey, what do you think about the overcut here in this situation? I've got to think that this is a little bit maybe aggressive from them, but they are going to get some better tires later on in the race.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to call this an overcut, because the overcut is definitely not going to advance them the positions. They are going to get undercut on the racetrack. But interesting to me, the number 90 car, the one that has the most fall off, has stayed out there on the racetrack. And if you ask me, I actually like this strategy, because now he's going to have less tire life on his final set of tires, and he's also capturing all of these cars a lap down currently. They're working lap 221, while it's back to 7th place Andrew Waring that's still on lap 220. So I think this 90 is going to stretch it all the way until he's on fumes out there.
I think that could be a good call. Brian Halleck, though, going to take that pit lane here a little bit early, coming down on lap 222 here as they roll 46 laps to go. As there we continue to see the number 90 circulating around. Justin Morton is the car in the control of the field right now. The number 9 leading this race there. As there we see him as they continue to work their way around as he dives down into 3 and 4 right now. Let's wait and see if he maybe decides to come on into pit lane. No, indeed, it looks like he is going to stay back out here with them. So it looks like a lot of these drivers opting to go long here, Ian, and we're going to have to see how that strategy plays itself out. The drivers who have come in, they're going to be making up some time, but this is going to be interesting.
Well, you kind of read my mind, too. I was curious if anybody has time to take a risk and pit before that fuel window, trying to stretch it, knowing they're going to catch the rest of the drivers in a pitting situation. But if you're one of these drivers up towards the front of the pack, especially if you're the Warling and stuff like that, how long do you go on this set of tires? Because as you mentioned, anybody who comes out of pit road now, they're going to be about 2 seconds faster per lap.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this back and forth plays itself out. There is the lap time comparison, by the way, with Nick Ottinger and Justin Morton. You can see the massive gaps that he is making in. Call it about 1.6 seconds per lap. He is certainly starting to close in. Jason Wallet is the latest to throw in the flag here, as he is going to bring it down into pit lane and take tires here. The UDOX Lola machine going to be the latest. That is only going to leave here at this point Justin Morton, Travis Warling, and Brian McGreevy out on track. There you can see Warling just getting past like he is standing still here at this point, Joey.
Yeah, these cars are definitely faster than him on the racetrack, but I'm actually pretty impressed with the consistency of lap time he's been able to put down. He's still laying down 35.8s, and while that's not as fast as the number 25 car of Nick Ottinger when he was out leading with these tires, but let me tell you, when this 90 car gets its fresh set of tires, if it stays on the lead lap, it is going to turn into the rocket ship out there.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that is going to be the real question here, and that is what I imagine Travis Warling has folks in his ear, making sure that he knows when that crossover point will be, and I guarantee you the same is true for the Forge PC Pro number 1 racer here of Justin Morton, as he continues to try to get his way around. And yeah, the big concern here that I have, Ian, is if any of these drivers go a lap down on the pit stop cycle, that's going to be the death knell here. They have got to make sure they are able to stay ahead, and that's where those spotters and those folks in your ear are so important.
You're absolutely correct. Or if you're one of these drivers that are running solo and You have to rely on yourself. You have to know those deltas in the back of your head and checking your relative, checking your timing tower, and really making sure you don't put yourself in a situation where you're caught a lap down. Another thing to keep in mind now, DJ, now that most of the field is pitted, what if a yellow flag comes out at this point? I mean, you're really going to find yourself towards the back of the pack. You're not really going to have an advantage here. So it's a hairy situation staying out this late, but if you commit to this strategy, it's what you're going to do.
Yeah, you've got to commit to it. That is the prevailing thought here at this point as they continue to circulate around and we tick closer and closer to 40 laps remaining in this race. There are some of the drivers working their way up ahead. We have separated ourselves out a little bit right now, but this is, I believe, Joey Haynes and Rob Powers. That is going to be Haynes able to get the move done. Excuse me, that's Travis Warling getting past there as he works his way around. These are some lapped cars that are bringing their way through. Warling right now getting passed by Daniel Johnson. That's Brett Kirby, Brian Barnes, Justin Kirby coming in behind Joey. You've been crunching a few of the numbers here, though, and what is the difference here between them?
Yeah, I think we actually have a car in the wall, but right now Nick Ottinger, the 25 car, is taking out 2 seconds per lap of that number 90 of second place Travis Warling that we've been watching. And I think if I'm on the strategy call for the number 9 and the number 90, I don't want to let this number 25 car get too close to me, because if they go a lap down on this green flag pit flag cycle, it could spell trouble.
Yeah, it could spell a lot of trouble for them, so it's going to be interesting to see there. That was Ozzie Milwane getting up into the wall a little bit, running into some problems, and so they are going to have to watch out for that. This is Ozzie Milwane and Jeff Schmeier, two drivers that have come down into pit lane. This is the battle for P7 right now out on track, as Ian, these guys have made their final pit stop, and it is all just down to lap times here at this point.
Yeah, and you've got to go now if you do have those fresh tires on. You can't sit here and sit around and save them and think that a yellow flag's going to come out. This could possibly be the race for the win of this race here. So you can't sit back. You got to be aggressive. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. You got to focus on the car in front of you. You got to focus on these individual battles that you have when we're coming to 37 laps to go.
Yeah, you've got to try to be able to keep themselves going, as it looks like here we are working on about lap 56 or 57 of this tire cycle for Morton and Warling, and Ottinger has been able to clear. He is only about, it looks like here at this point, call it 9 seconds off of the leader here at this point. I have got to think that this cycle is not going to work out here for Morton and Warling. They have got to come down into pit lane, Joey. I think this is going to be a big failure unless they do it here soon.
They need to come down ASAP right now. We're working 37 laps to go, and if I was working that strategy and I was, looks like we got contact back there. We might bring out a yellow flag, and that might save the day, but it looks like everybody still keeps it pointed the right way on the racetrack. That was the number 57 going 3 wide with the number 9, and I'm not sure who we're riding with on board right now.
That's Daniel B. Johnson. We were riding on board with Kirby as well as they continue to work their way through. There is Justin Morton losing those positions, and it looks like Warling down into pit lane here at this point, so he has finally given up the ghost. He's going to come back out, but he is going to be all the way down in 17th position, and I do believe he has lost a lap here at this point to our provisional leader of Justin Morton. It is to be determined if he's lost a lap. He has lost a lap here to Nick Ottinger at this point, so that has not worked out for the number 90, Ian.
No, and you see this happen every time that a cycle of green flag stops goes around, is that somebody will always try to stay out, somebody will always try to go off strategy, somebody's always going to take that risk, and it ends up biting him, and that's what happened to the 90 car there. So it's going to be really tough to come back through this field right now. I guess on the bright side, he's only 1 lap down. He only has Jason Wallet to beat for that lucky dog position, but definitely not a spot you wanted to put yourself in at this point.
Well, the one thing to be able to keep in mind here is that number 90 is going to be very, very speedy, and with only about 34 laps to go, may be able to gain his way forward. But Joey, the one thing that I'm going to be a little bit concerned about if I'm in that number 90 is the fact that 15 laps seems to be the cutoff point of where that car runs out of tires.
It's like you're in my head over here, DJ. You're right. You know, he did a great job stretching it out, almost 60 laps that last stint. But you're right, it's been about 10 laps that he's really been fast. 15 laps is the fall-off point, and then 20 laps he's already slower than the rest of the field out there. And I'm looking, he took that, he's got about 35 laps to go on his current stint. I don't think that's going to work out too well for him.
No, I don't think it is, and I think it's going to be even worse potentially for Justin Morton, but we jump on board with Nick Ottinger right now in the number 25. That is J-Mo directly up ahead of him. That is the leader of the race who has not stopped here at this point, running out on older tires here at this point, and I've got to imagine here, Ian, that he is going to be gobbled up like Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, I mean, what have we seen all night long? We've seen the tire fall off of about 2 seconds per lap from fresh tires. So yeah, you mentioned it, DJ. He's just going to get gobbled up. And really, at this point, if you're a driver that stayed out at this point with old tires, you're a sitting duck to the rest of the field. You're not going to have any of that equalizing anytime soon to where they're running a lap time similar than you. So you just got to bite the bullet at this point. Go down there. Get the tires that you can and just hope for the best of the rest of this race. And Justin Morton finds himself in a position that I would not want to be in with 31 laps to go.
Yeah, nor I, and you saw there on your screen, Ottinger actually able to make that pass a little bit anticlimactic considering of what we were running, but this is not an anticlimax, as that is Joey Haynes, Nathan Dowd, and Wayne Hutchinson taking it 3 wide as they go down into turn 1. That almost got a little bit sketchy there. Dowd, Haynes trying to hold out the 17 behind of Wayne Hutchinson, trying to see what he is able to do, as that is going to be the number 23 there that was able to pass on by them. That's Brenton Foster, who is a lap down, but is absolutely screaming by out there, able to gain a little bit of time back as Hutchison diving the car deep into the corner there, trying to get to the inside of Nathan Dowd. A little bit of a wiggle there in front from the number 33 of Ozzie Milwane, of Joey Haynes, as they continue to work, crossing over the start-finish line here. 30 laps to go from Homestead, Miami. Again, we're going to see a big dive here for the number 17 of Wayne Hutchison, down to the inside of Nathan Dowd. Oh, that's getting a little bit too close for comfort, but they're somehow able to avoid contact as Joey, it looks like Justin Morton finally coming down into pit lane.
Yeah, Justin Morton is going to finally make his bed. He's been laying in it this whole time, but this battle on track is not going anywhere. Wayne Hutchinson in the 17, battling it out with the number 147 of Nathan Dowd out there. Also, Joey Haynes making up a position as that Justin Morton car comes down into pit lane. That's going to promote all of these cars up 1 spot. So that's Ozzie Milwane in 5th, Joey Haynes in 6th, Wayne Hutchinson now in 7th, Nathan Dowd in 8th. And I really want to, let these guys know they've been running a little bit further back, and here they are, battling it out inside the top 10 as the laps count down.
Yeah, they're certainly continuing to duke it out. All of these positions still up for grabs, as now that Morton has come down into the pit lane, the top 3 are Ottinger, Waring, and Abramitis, as that has spaced itself out a little bit. But we have got to be following Nathan Dowd right here as he finds himself in a little bit of a precarious position, trying to slot in behind Brian Halleck, but the 52 of Kevin Hill has other ideas here, Ian.
Oh, yeah, and while you were saying that, the 44 really got into the wall there. Klinko really got into the wall very hard. So we'll see there how that's going to be going for the rest of the run. But you kind of mentioned it, Dowd here, kind of struggling to go on board with Kevin Hill here. Now this is a battle for 9th and 10th position. Dowd, you can kind of just see how he's struggling right now, that he's not getting the drive off the corner that he wants right now, DJ.
No, he's certainly not, and it doesn't exactly look like he is able to get the grip there that he really wants to have happen. There you see Kevin Hill just able to push that car down to the inside a little bit more, run the low line a little bit as he goes. He's going to wash up the track there just a little bit, but going to be able to keep up in the draft as Joey, you've been taking a look a little bit closer at the number 44 machine, just saying that it does not look exactly like a happy car here at this point in the race.
The number 44 has been in the wars today, and it continues on as we work 26 laps to go. He's just hanging on back here. This is Lynn Kinchlow working it down into turn 3. This car really seems to be on top of the racetrack. He's been in the wall a couple times tonight, and he's just trying to survive out there right now.
Yeah, I think he is at this point. Running that high line is Lynn Kinchlow, and remember, we did see him make some pretty hefty contact with the wall a little bit earlier on as they continue to try to see what they are able to do. Watching here, the number 21 machine now looking to go down to the inside there of the 17 of Wayne Hutchison. This is Brian Halleck for Forge PC Racer Pro, trying to see what they are able to do. Oh, and that's a spin in the background. You were right there.
Jason Wallet.
That's Jason Wallet around. I don't see a yellow being declared, but that is a car around in the back.
I might have misspoke. It might have been Wayne Hutchinson back there. Jason Wallet was actually slow, but it was Wayne Hutchinson out of turn 4. Had a giant moment. We stay green on the racetrack, DJ, but oh my gosh, what a save.
What a save indeed, Adam. I wonder if we can maybe get a replay of that, because that was absolutely remarkable stuff that was able to be caught and stayed green. I'm not sure if that was Hutchison or not. It may have been the 184 here that we focus in on, trying to figure that out and bring it back, but it just goes to show you nothing is for certain here in this race, and anything can fire off here in the last 20-odd laps.
Well, we're all talking about how great of a save it is, but that's really detrimental to your tires, and you don't want a big slide like that. You might flat spot your tires. Just heating them up in general isn't going to do much good to you as well, and especially at 23 laps to go here, we're probably not going to get another stop in this race unless the yellow flag comes out. So if we go green all the way to the end, that's got to hurt them going forward.
Yeah, as we focus back here in the field a little bit of side-by-side running. Wayne Hutchison and Kevin Hill as they continue to work. That's going to be Hill down to the low side, Hutchison up to the high side. It looks like momentum is going to favor Kevin Hill, as indeed that position has been taken over by the Evolve Sim Sports driver, and he's going to try to hold ahead. Let's also jump you up to the battle for 4th place right now as we ride on board the nose here of Ozzie Milwane. Eric Smith trying to hold him off, Joey.
Yeah, Eric Smith has been slowly caught by Ozzie Milwane as, looks like the number 14 is going to dive down to the low side of the racetrack. We'll see if the 32 can hang on, but it looks like he's already lost grip. Promote Ozzie Milwane up to 4th place.
Ozzie, this is a very surprising drive here out of Ozzie. We really haven't called his name hardly any point over the course of this 267-lap affair as we work on lap 247 right now. Started 4th, back up to 4th. I would not have called that. It looked like that car was struggling mid-race, just didn't necessarily have the speed, and there he is back into good positions as Warling and Schmeier now are the two duking out, and they're going to go 3 wide. This has the potential to get a little bit hair-raising here as the number 30 there in the back of Schmeier, Warling, Medeiros also getting involved in this as well, and that number 184, Ian.
Yeah, and for a second there, it looked like, I'm not sure who that is at the bottom, but that was really going to be problems there coming off of 4. Really expected one of those drivers to wash up and have an incident there, but we stay green. 20 laps to go here from virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. We're on board here with Travis Warling. Looking back at this battle here, that's going to be Medeiros and Schneider. They're battling for 12th and 13th position. We go ahead here to Halleck and Haynes here. This is one of the best battles on the racetrack right now, and getting down the crunch time, this battle for 6th and 7th, it may not seem like much here, but one yellow flag comes out, this field gets bunched up, DJ. You want all those spots towards the front that you possibly can get.
Yeah, you most certainly do, as Halleck was able to make that move just a little bit ago, and here comes the number 12, rocketing around the outside. That's going to be Ryan Steele. I think something is wrong here for the 33, just looking very, very anemic coming off of the corner, Joey. I wonder if there was contact on that car or if that car's tires are just absolutely shot here at this point. It's only a 30-lap stint for Joey Haynes, but that car not looking good.
No, it is not. I like to say it's on top of the racetrack, and it just seems to be moving around a lot as he has another big moment out of turn 2 right there. I can't tell if it's loose or if it's floating the nose through the middle, but either way, it's definitely a handful as we ride on board the number 33 of Joey Haynes right now. Looks like it's really sliding the nose, which has been negative affecting it coming off of the corner, and I would not want to be driving that race car right now. It looks like a handful out there.
Yeah, and he's still got about 18 laps to do around this Homestead Miami Speedway, and that is not the kind of car you want to have handling up underneath you as we continue to ride on board. There you can see just how much opposite lock he's having to put in that car coming off of the corner, trying to save it. I've got to agree with you there 100% as we focus now on Nick Ottinger up at the front of the field, just picking his way through some traffic right now, and he's got about a 4.5-second gap over Andrew Waring behind him. There is Waring on your screen. Looks pretty straightforward here at this point, as if anything can be straightforward in NASCAR racing, Ian.
Yeah, and you know, Ottinger's going to tick through these lap cars and everything like that, and every car that he gets by, it's just another car that Andrew Waring has to pass as well to get back to Nick Ottinger. Just a little bit more that he has to use his car up. So most of these drivers are going to be pretty respectful getting out of the way of cars in the lead lap, but you never know. Some people are just kind of the leader and then put up a fight for anybody else, but really Ottinger finds himself, that you mentioned, at a 4.5-second advantage right now. Really, it's smooth sailing for him. It's going to be 15 laps to go when he comes to the stripe this time.
Yeah, and these are all lap cars that he is currently dealing with on the screen right now, that he is trying to work his way around the 1-1-4 there of Jason Wallach that he's able to try to go. And looks like here, Joey, you were maybe taking a little bit of a look at a few of these drivers, thinking maybe Brian Howlick could have a little bit of potential to move himself forward.
Yeah, I think that he's working a little bit of a better tire right now than Eric Smith in the 32 car in front of him, as we're looking at the battle of 7th, 8th, and 9th place between Joey Haynes, Kevin Hill, and Wayne Hutchinson. DJ, you were mentioning that Joey Haynes' car just does not look happy out there, and I think that has resulted in Kevin Hill and Wayne Hutchinson now closing the gap up to him.
Yeah, you're right. The gap has come down to about, let's call it 4 car lengths as they dive down into turn 3 right now. Hutchison and Hill certainly closing in. Oh, that's a big wiggle there for Brian Barnes coming out of the corner. He is a lucky, lucky driver indeed. Excuse me, that was Jeff Schmeier that had the big wiggle coming out of the corner, and he is very lucky that he was able to keep that underneath him, Ian.
Oh, absolutely. And we're getting to the point where these drivers are 14 laps to go. They may have been saving tires before. They're not saving tires now. As you take another look on board, and we'll see this wiggle again. And you look, these next-gen cars, so easy to just get loose. And wow, he's really lucky to save it there coming off the 4 DJ. Usually when these cars get loose, they snap loose on you when you're around before you know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. That may have seemed very, very pedestrian from behind the wheel of the car, but I assure you that was nothing but calm underneath the hood there. As here comes Brian Howlick. Joey, I think you called this.
Yeah, you know, he's working just with a few laps fresher on his tires, and I think that's the difference as we see the 32 with a big wiggle up out of turn 2. He thankfully saves it, keeps it pointed the right direction. You know, we're working 12 laps to go here, and I think these cars are just on the final edge of what they've got.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly are just absolutely running around. And speaking of drivers on the fine edge of what they have, here is Travis Warling jumping back up to the high side. Warling currently runs in 11th place right now, trying to be able to get by Nathan Dowd as he runs. He's holding that advantage here, the UDOX Lola driver, as we see him diving down into the corner, just being able to hold the line there around the outside, running that line that seemed to be preferred there for him earlier on in the race. Now here is the battle with Wayne Hutchison and Kevin Hill, as that's going to be Hutchison down to the inside, Hill up to the high side as they work their way through the corner right now. Hutchison for Dog Bear Red trying to be able to get his nose ahead. It looks like his nose is going to be ahead there a little bit, but here comes J-Mo coming in from behind, Ian.
And these drivers all have about equal tires right now, so this is a fair fight as they go potentially 3 wide. They are 3 wide there for a little bit into the corner. Morton able to get a little bit of an advantage here on Hutchison as they go into the corner, and he's going to take the spot away from those 2 drivers. A little bit more drive off for Morton right now. He's still holding these 2 drivers off. 10 laps to go. I think this is going to be a battle we're watching all the way to the end, DJ.
Well, remember, Justin Morton in that number 9 came in about 20 laps later than these drivers. 18 laps, I believe, is the exact count, and he absolutely is breezing by traffic here at this point, able to get by Joey Haynes right now. So, Joey, maybe that strategy's starting to play out here a little bit for J-Mo.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the race-winning strategy like they were hoping for, but this battle between the number 17 car of Wayne Hutchinson just took a huge shot coming out of turn 2 there from Travis Warling in the 90. Travis also has that fresh set of tires on in comparison to these other cars, so he's trying to make his way up through, but he's got to be careful.
Yeah, he's got to be very, very careful. Whoa, as that car looked a little bit skittish there coming off of turn 4. That wasn't exactly what you wanted to see, as he's going to try to run that car around the outside there of the number 17 of Wayne Hutchison. He's got to back it off a little bit, but I wonder if Hutchison here in turn is going to be slowed down by Kevin Hill as they come off the corner, and look at that speed. Hill getting a little bit squiggly there, Ian.
Yeah, and this is just the ebb and flow that we have in this race, just the way that the tires are right now, and the way that these drivers are trading back and forth which line they want to take. You take the high line, I take the high line, going back and forth. Really, a lot of these cars are even right now, unless you waited. That's maybe a touch off the wall there. And that's not going to make you even if you take any damage this late in a race, DJ. But a lot of these cars are even right now, so you're doing all you can, searching around the racetrack to find the slightest bit of an advantage here.
Yeah, it's Justin Morton here is going to be another driver to maybe take a little bit of an advantage. One of those drivers that stopped late on tires. He's got his teammate, the number 21 of Brian Halleck, directly up in front of him. And J-Mo able to drive that car a little bit to the outside here, running that high groove. Oh, big amount of counter steer there coming through the corner. He's got to catch it. That's going to lose him a little bit of time. But with 7 laps to go, I think a top 5 is certainly on the cards for him, Joey.
That was a huge moment coming through turns 3 and 4 as Justin Morton is just hanging on to this number 9 car, working his way by the number 21 of his teammate. We're going to jump back. This is the number 32, the number 90 on the screen. This is a battle for 8th place between Kevin Hill, Eric Smith, and Travis Warling right now. Once again, that number 90 has got the fresh tires in comparison to the cars around him. He's just trying to make his way up, and we've seen that Joey Haynes car in that green, the 33 way up top, be really loose as we got 2 wide in front of the 90. It looks like he might even make it 3 wide going into turn 1, DJ.
He's certainly going to think about it. Coming down to the inside there of the 33 of Joey Haynes. He's going to have a no ahead, as now that's going to be Kevin Hill that drifts up the track a little bit. The 90 able to hold down to the inside. We haven't seen him doing that really over the course of this entire race long. Such close action there, such close catches for all of these drivers. With only about 5 laps to go, they are dancing across this track, Ian.
Yeah, and tire wear is being an issue. These drivers are going for it. You see a little bit loose there again, coming off of the corner. That could have been a big deal, DJ. And side by side, battling this new damage model these next-gen cars have, you can really lean on each other before you start to get into any kind of problem. So I think we're going to see some aggressive side-by-side racing. Look at this coming off at 2 with 5 to go.
Here they come. That's going to be Kevin Hill and Joey Haynes. By the way, Justin Morton has been able to get his way by his teammate of Brian Halleck to move himself up into P5, but that's going to be the number 52 of Kevin Hill up on the high side, Joey Haynes down on the low side. And don't count this out in the back there. Eric Smith and Wayne Hutchison still could get involved in this battle as well. Big slide through the corner for the 52. Somehow gathers it up and keeps it off the wall with 4 laps to go, but here comes Eric Smith. Now down to the inside, Joey.
Yeah, these green Tic Tac cars are kind of all over the place, but the 32 of Eric Smith diving it down the inside of turns 1 and 2 here at Homestead. Looks like he's going to be claiming away that 9th place from Kevin Hill. The Kevin Hill car, the 33, Joey Haynes, actually was bouncing off of the wall there in turn 2. That's going to open the door for Eric Smith and the 32 going down the inside of turn 3 now.
Eric Smith taking advantage of others' misfortune here. He's going to be down to the inside as a little bit of a wiggle there from both drivers. We are right on board with Wayne Hutchinson, who sits in the popcorn position as they cross over the line with 3 laps to go. This is a very, very fierce battle again for 8th place on the track. Eric Smith looks like he's going to have a nose ahead here as they come out of turn 2, but is the momentum going to be able to roll there for the number 33? A big, big wiggle there, Ian.
Oh, absolutely. These drivers give it all they possibly can here. Only 2 laps to go, and even going for over 200 laps here this evening, and it all comes down to this for these drivers. To the inside of the 33 goes Wayne Hutchison here, able to get to the nose, able to get the side draft, coming down the backstretch just a little bit, but looks like the 33 is going to have the slightest run as they head into turn 2, DJ.
Yeah, the 33 is going to be able to head that out. The 47 that you're about to see on the outside, that is a lapped car. That is Rob Powers, who took a pit stop a little bit later, and he's going to be able to move his way on by. But as of right now, and continues to be at the front of this field, Eric Smith leading from Kevin Hill. Now Hutchison able to get a good little run here as he's able to get ahead as the white flag is in the air for Nick Ottinger. White flag in the air for your leader. We'll try to keep you up to date on exactly what happens in that battle farther back in the pack, but we have got to give some love to the 25. We said this was going to be his home territory. We said this was going to be where he came home, and Nick Ottinger crosses the start-finish line to take victory here at Homestead Miami Speedway. It is going to be a solid drive up through the field for Andrew Waring, and let's give some love here to Tom Abramitis, up 24 positions to come home in P3, Ian.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Warling there in the 90 car as well. He had that strategy with the short run that got him all the way to the front each time around. In 7th position, you know, I think he would definitely want to win this race, but they kind of found something there in the long run that made him be a little bit better as a long run car. Comes home P7 today.
And that's going to be a good result there for them, as there Nick Ottinger will be able to take his victory lap there as they go. That is going to bring us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel, but do stay with us as we will be back in just a few moments' time for the final finishing order as well as podium interviews. Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. You just saw a fantastic finish to the Majors Championship weekend, as it was Nick Ottinger able to claim victory here at this 1.5 mile intermediate oval. Andrew Waring came home behind him with Tom Abermitis for Mega Team Racing in P3. Ozzie Milwane was P4, followed by Justin Morton, who took that alternate pit strategy and used it to perfection to bring him a 5th place finish. Brian Hallett came home in 6th, followed by Travis Warling, who was also on that alternate strategy. Then it was Eric Smith, Kevin Hill, and Wayne Hutchison to round out your top 10, Joey.
Yeah, then we have the number 33 car. Joey Haynes was able to hold on to it and come across the line there in 11th place. The number 147 of Nathan Dowd also had tremendous battles tonight there in the 12th place, followed up by Brian Burns, Jonathan Medeiros, and Jason Wallet there in the top 15. Great run out of the number 114 car. Jeff Schmeier, Justin Kirby, Brenton Foster, Brian McGreevy, and Rob Powers rounding out the top 20, Ian.
And rounding out the rest of your field here, we have Nick Kuhn in the 21st position. Daniel Johnson going to be in the 22nd position. Brent Kirby here, when it rotates around, will be in 23rd. Klinko in 24th, Ryan Steele 25th, Ray Partridge 26th, Kristen Chandler, after an unfortunate internet/power issue, winds up 27th after leading a majority of this race. Carl Burke in 28th, and Aaron Roos rounds out your 29 card field here this evening, DJ.
Yes, it does, and it looks like here at this point we are lucky enough to be able to be joined by our victor, Nick Ottinger. Nick, we kind of previewed at the beginning of the race that you were going to be tough to beat around here. Christian gave you a little bit of a run for your money, but that race looked relatively like you had it under control the entire time.
I want to give, first off, shout out to the Mega Racing team, boys, for teaming up for this major series event, but also for the whole series. It was a very fun year for us. I'm very glad to do it with a bunch of friends, and because at the end of the day, you just want to have fun with who you're racing against and stuff like that, and it's very fun just to kind of have a little off time and have some fun with the Mega Racing team and everyone in major series. So, talk about our night tonight. It was, it was very tame. It was a long race. It was all about management as far as just managing your tires, and I'm sure you guys could see, Travis kind of firing off pretty quick short run and then kind of fall off once we get about 20 laps in, and it's just all about managing your stuff, so unfortunately, we had a long run at the end for most people, but we did our best to just put ourselves in a position, and it was very nice to see Tom, who's struggling with COVID right now, finish P3 as well.
Oh, well, we didn't know that, but yeah, that is a very impressive feat there if Tom's able to be doing that while having COVID. But I wanted to ask you a little bit on that first time when you saw Travis absolutely blitzing by you. Did that give you a moment for pause at all, or were you just going to stick to the plan from there on out?
I mean, realistically, I have a pretty intense series iRacing in the Coke series, so I got a good gauge for how I need to manage my pace, early to end of a fuel run. So I wasn't worried when I seen Travis kind of blitz, to my outside, because at the end of the day, I knew a crossover point was going to happen with the tires, and just trying to manage it be a little bit more linear than, a little bit more too progressive, in Travis's case, and it's experience, but you just do your best to kind of manage, your straight drive off and not put a wheel wrong, and luckily for us, we were able to manage that for most of the night.
Well, you managed it quite well, and this unfortunately is the end of the season here, but I do want to ask you, are we going to be able to see you back next year? And if we are, anything you're maybe hoping to see on the calendar that'd be a little bit of fun for you?
Certainly down to come back next year. It was very fun to participate with, this series, even throughout the year when I was busy with Coke series. But it's just fun. It's no way around it. A lot of different diversity in cars and track combos. I would lean towards a stadium truck type of event, because I just love kind of slinging those big trucks around. Where, I have no clue, but I just want to do a lot of beating a bag and just see who could muscle their way to a win.
Well, I would love to see that as well. But Nick, congratulations here on the win tonight. You already thanked your team, but who else makes this possible for you?
Yeah, I like that. So give a shout out to my iRacing official team too, William Byron Esports. Probably going to sign back with them next year too. So really huge shout out to Logitech G for being great partners, friends, supporters of SimRacing for one, but supporters of me too. So couldn't make it happen without their support, and we'll see you guys for 2023.
We will see you guys indeed. Nick, congratulations once again, and thanks for talking to us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that was Nick Ottinger, your victor here today. And now I believe, Ian, you've been able to catch up with Andrew Waring, our second place finisher.
Well, Andrew, congratulations here on your second place finish so far. It was a long race out there, a lot of green flag racing. Did that kind of factor into your setup and your strategy that you had, or were you looking for more short run racing?
Definitely was targeting the longer run after the international and European races showed there's going to be a small caution count. just pretty much switched immediately to trying to figure out that 30+ lap race pace. And I think we hit the nail on the head for, for a car that we only drive a couple times a year, and getting 2 weeks into the setting up for this race. I'm pretty pleased with what we were able to find. Obviously, weren't able to hang on to some of the mega guys, but it was an extremely difficult race and very hard to just hit your laps every lap. So glad it's over, and the season's gonna be a nice, well-deserved break now. So.
We noticed you and a lot of your teammates throughout the entire race were really favoring that bottom line. Again, was that just something set up that you guys were looking for, or did you find some speed there on the bottom line? What was the strategy there?
In our testing, mostly it was just about what line we found preserved the right rear the most, and that was the bottom line. The high side has its pros, but it was heating up the right rear a little bit more. So in the long run, we just decided to stick to the white line, and it worked out. I mean, the Evolve cars, from what I saw in my relatives, all seemed to be up near the front, and everybody was moving. So I'm pretty happy as a team boss that we came away with this result.
Well, second place finish here to end out your season. Going into the off season, what you guys looking to improve on there, and what are you expecting to do when you come back for next season?
I mean, this has been our most successful year as a team for sure, and personally, my best year in the majors. I've had some connectivity issues and some other issues, but we're looking to come back next year with the new schedule and new time zone. It's going to be extremely competitive, so we're looking forward to that fight, and you'll see us field at least a couple teams next year for sure.
We appreciate your time, taking some of your time out of your day here, Andrew, to come talk to us in the GSRC booth up here. Go and take some time to celebrate with your teammate out there.
Thanks, and I appreciate it. Just wanted to say thanks to you guys for broadcasting all year, the majors for doing all the organizing, and it's been an excellent year. And then to all the guys just that Evolve, we've put in a long season, and P2 in the teams pays off, and hopefully next year will be even a better team and more fierce competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Andrew. That was your second place finisher, Andrew Waring there, DJ. A great run from him there this evening.
Indeed, a great run from him. And as you heard, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to talk to Tom Abramitis. And that is unfortunately going to wrap up our event here tonight, and indeed pretty much wrap up the season for the majors. But before we go, we want to give another huge shout out to tonight's charity, the Whatcom Humane Society. Make sure to go ahead and check out their website so you can be able to check out all of the great work that they have been doing since 1902. Also, massive thanks to the team today, Joey, Ian, Adam, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store listed there on your screen. And a massive thanks to everyone that makes this possible today, including June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. While you are checking out all of those links, also make sure to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. While the season and the championship may be over, we do have one more race for the Major Series Legacy Day, which will be Sunday, December 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Also be able to check out the other broadcasts that are listed here on your screen, so check them out and mark them down on your calendars. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.